All right, hello out there. I think we're live right now, but I'm not seeing it, so just want to double check before we get going, and then we'll.
I'm also not seeing it.
Is it still showing up as black? Okay, yeah, that's what I was seeing too. It's still showing as solid black. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's up now. That's weird. Just some YouTube delay. Okay, cool. I should have known, right? All right. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about assets, some of our favorite assets, the assets on the Unity store, and the stuff that's on sale. Right now, there are a bunch of things that are on sale for 50% off and more. So we're going to go over some of the best things that are on sale today, get some feedback from everybody in chat, see what things you guys think are the best ones too. And then I plan on buying a couple, at least today, of the ones that everybody recommends. And I think we'll just kind of talk about the assets in general, go in depth on some of the ones that we think or that you guys think are really cool. So if you guys have recommendations for assets before we get started, feel free to just type them into chat whenever you get a chance. And if you're here with us live, just say hello and let us know. All right. Yeah. Welcome, Jason and Andrew. How's it going, guys?
Good. Thanks.
Good.
So I guess I don't know if we should just get started by diving right into what's on the asset store, or if there's well, I want to just talk about like how big the sale is really quick, and then we'll talk about some of the specific assets that we wanted to share. So I've got my screen actually shared right here. I should be able to pop it right up, and you can see the asset store sale, and it says what on hundreds of top assets save 50% off. But I think it's 539 things that are on sale. Everything from art to code and other stuff. Audio. Looks like there's a little bit of audio at least, and a whole bunch of tools. So yeah, is there like a section you guys would like to just dive into first, or a specific asset that you guys think is like the coolest one, or the number one asset that everybody should definitely check out if they're gonna just get one thing? Or do you want to save that one for later?
That's a tough question.
Can't get just one thing.
Yeah. I made a list of things I recommend, and I can't just pick one of them. So
I'll tell you one that.
Go ahead.
There's one that I've been eyeing that is Grabbit. Grabbit. It's like rabbit with a G at the beginning.
Grabbit.
BBIT.
Grabbit. All right, let's pull it up. Grabbit Physics Transform.
Oh, this one, yeah. It lets you.
That's all. That first.
Yeah.
That first little bit is all I needed to see to be like, oh, I want that.
Let's watch it again. Hold on. So they drop the books. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So it just falls down. This is like when you're doing scene mode placement, and you don't have to go in there and like try to line it up and get it perfect. It's just
without the little hovering when it's not quite right.
Okay, let's add that one to cart. That seems like a good one. What else does it do? Oh, actually, why did I click away from the video? I'd probably just skip ahead, huh? Press the U key, move things around, apply gravity to objects. Huh.
Yeah, so I mean, any level designing. Oh, that's cool. The grouping is cool too.
An alignment tool, yeah.
Group them on a shelf or something.
Handles. Interesting. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Let's see, Grabbit versus Transform. So using, okay. So yeah, just kind of drop it in there. Yeah.
We've all done the transform method, and it's a hassle.
This is definitely $20 worth of time for me already.
Yeah.
Advanced collider generator. What's this one doing? Creating colliders for those. Okay, yeah, I'm impressed. It's definitely a good one. Anything else we should look at with this one that you can think of?
No, is this a runtime? Does it work at runtime? I was looking at the description. I don't know if it works at runtime, but it seems like it doesn't need to be amazing. So
yeah, I think at runtime the physics engine is gonna kind of do that stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
Probably good. Yeah, that is. Okay, cool. Got one on my list. All right.
Ching.
Sweet. All right, what else we got? Jason?
So I guess ones that I actually use in a lot of projects would be things like I really like Text Animator. That's one that I remember sending to our friend Chris. He makes great use of that one in his games.
Let's pull this one up. Text Animator. Why is it not letting me click on it? There we go. All right. Okay. This is the one that does the cool fancy
Rainbow
text.
text.
Yeah, it's rainbow text. Yeah. No, it's just a really nice way to inject sort of that dialogue system style animations into your text meshes. It's really simple,
that
really
is cool.
straightforward, works very easily. It's just using a tag-based system. The best assets are the ones that are kind of almost invisible, and this one is very easy to work with.
There's a lot of options there too. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just use these are the use like HTML like tags. And they're just like you do with Text Mesh Pro. It's really cool. I actually bought this one last time you recommended it to me. Like this thing is freaking awesome, and I bought it not on sale. I should have waited. Oh, actually, never mind. I already used it quite a few times.
You got your 1250
cool.
worth.
Yeah, this one. I like this one. It does require Text Mesh Pro. Okay. I mean, it does.
I pretty much exclusively use Text Mesh Pro for my text these days. It doesn't really faze me too much.
Cool. That one seems good. Somebody's mentioning Doozy and UniRX and Surfforge in chat. Just looking to see what everybody else is recommending down there. By the way, yeah, if you guys have recommendations, if there's anything popular in there that's on sale, we can go check it out.
Yeah.
I admit
RayFire. Somebody mentioned.
Oh, actually, RayFire. I bought RayFire this morning. I've already bought.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What's it called? RayFire?
RayFire. RAY.
Yeah, a friend of mine used it very recently in a project, and I was like, "Oh, how are you doing the Vernoi destruction stuff?" And he's like, "RayFire." I said, "Okay, I'll buy that."
All right. Oh, it's rated R though. Let's check this out. RayFire.
The runtime video is more impressive than this.
Oh, okay.
So that's cool, but
this is like generating cracks.
Yeah, but it does it at runtime.
It looks like it's generating destructible objects.
Yeah.
Right?
Infinitely, I think the term is infinitely destructible.
Using Vernoi and various other slicing methods, and then you can apply interfaces and things, and then, generate your destructibles.
Oh, okay. I think that we actually used this on one of the VR games we did, where it was like a rampage style game where you could break apart buildings, tear them apart, and destroy them.
I used one before. It used to be called, I think it was Destruction. I think it was just the name of it, which is a previous Destructibles asset I've used. I hadn't used this one before, but this looks like there's a lot more tooling in this one than other assets.
Yeah, this is probably a much better version. Yeah, this looks cool. That's neat. Can you talk about what you're going to use it for, Jason, or is it unknown yet?
It's pretty much it's more just that I've seen a friend use it and I saw it and went, if it's on sale and I've seen it work and it looks good, I'll probably want it at some stage and I might as well grab it while it's on sale now. So truth is, there's not a particular project in mind.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like I'm heavily considering it, but it's gonna make me log in. Okay. But
well, they pushed me over the edge because they have an extra thing where they said if you spend over whatever it is, 100 or 150, it adds 5 or 10% extra off the sale. So I was like, fine, I'll get that one extra thing to push it over the boundary to get the extra 10% off.
Yeah. Well, I added it. I'm gonna consider that one because that is cool. Maybe I'll come up with a project for it. That's
I'm just imagining
assets, man. It's so easy to just like come up with a new game project or an idea based on I gotta stop myself. Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Remove it from my cart. Our
first-person Zelda.
What's that?
Like first-person NES Zelda, where you bomb a wall. Just put a bomb there.
Yeah. Now I just gotta build the game around it, right?
Yeah,
around the one destructible wall.
It's pretty much my ticket to freedom right there is that concept, that first person Zelda. Don't steal it.
Oh. It reminds me of a thing I saw on Reddit yesterday about Zelda, and it was like an image of what you remember Zelda being like 20 years ago, and it was like the original first version. And it's like what Zelda really was 20 years ago, and it's I forget which one it was. One of like the 3D ones on a Game Boy, or not, might have been that fucking Cube, whatever it was. I've lost track now. I'm too old. I don't know. I'll have to show the picture. The picture was a lot better than my terrible description. But let's go on to another asset, guys. What else you got? It's got something else really cool to share.
Well, someone just mentioned DoTween Pro, and I will say, honestly, DoTween is one of the 3 or 4 assets I add to almost every project. There's a lot of assets I don't really use, but that one is one that I've consistently gotten value out of.
That's this one right here. What's the difference between the free version and the pro for people who are wondering? Like,
so the
free one is free. I mean, this one's not very expensive, but what do you actually get to like want to make the upgrade or need it?
Pro gives you extension methods. So effectively, there's a lot of pre-built things where you can say do move left, or do punch, or do fade, and it's effectively just someone's pre-written the kind of the plumbing code that makes things a bit easier for you. There's nothing you can't do with it without Pro. Pro's also got a bunch of UI stuff that I never use, but I'll be honest, I bought it because I enjoy it enough that for the relatively cheap price tag, it's well worth supporting the developer. So more so than anything else, it's just easy to get. That being said, because I do a lot of contract work, I use it on almost every single personal project, but I try to avoid any asset that isn't necessary for client-facing projects. So I'll often just use a combination of coroutines and animation curves and do the same kind of thing myself if I'm giving the code to a client. But for all of my own projects, it's so much easier and nicer to have the sequencing tools part of DoTween.
That makes sense. It's one that I kind of in the same boat. I'll use it on personal stuff where I know it's not going out and it's not like a YouTube video because I don't want to have to require it. But yeah, in your personal stuff, it's great for a time saver. I didn't realize that the extension methods were only in the Pro one. So I've used the Pro one for so long, I didn't know that was the difference. So that's good to know, and probably I would say worth the upgrade.
I used to tell people, no, you can just get the free one. You don't need the Pro one if it's too much for you. And then people are like watching me do the code with the extension methods, and they're like, "How do I do that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just the same." And they're like, "No, it's not there." So that's when I realized people were trying to follow along and they couldn't without the Pro version.
That's funny. Yeah, again, why I don't like to do the videos with the assets, because I wouldn't have noticed either. Okay, that's a cool one. See, a lot of people seem to like that one too. Somebody wants to know what other asset you always add. What are the other assets that you always add? Or any of them on sale?
Was actually, I think Procedural UI Image is on sale. That one makes it to most of my projects as well. The main reason being, I think that a lot of Unity devs, let's be honest, we're not artists, and the stuff we make is a bit rough. And so one of the very simple things you can add is Procedural UI Image. And effectively, you could just make these yourself in Photoshop and do different sizes and that kind of thing. But this PUI thing, it just really simple, lets you have kind of borders and backgrounds and stuff, and just make your UI a bit nicer without any additional assets. So it's really simple. But the ability to have curved masks and things is really nice. To give an example of what I've used it for, actually, I think I've shown you this before. This is the kind of stuff that you can do with it. Where is that?
They're making a procedural image. Oh, interesting. It kind of lets you draw out. And you still have to have some artistic skill, it seems.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But here's something I've done. You'll have to show it on stream because I can't link to it. But there you go. This is something that is using that to do that effect.
Let's open that up. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, let's pop that up and share it. So here it comes.
So this is me just doing the new Unity UI system, and then that zoom effect is effectively the procedural mask that is just changing its shape when animating it whenever I pause. So that kind of stuff is quite nice. It adds a bit more flair to your standard.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yep.
That's very cool. It's not on sale though. Go back here. Yeah, it's full price, but I've added it to my cart anyway. All right. Let's see. Same question. What are the assets? Oh, here we go. So I guess this is a question I guess would apply to everybody. For me, I would say there aren't any assets that I always import. There's nothing that I bring into every project anymore. But I don't also start that many projects that are not going to be publicly visible to a lot of people. So that's probably a side effect of it. I don't know about you, Andrew. It may just be Jason that has like a good set of standard ones.
I have a couple things. So of course my own assets that I just use, but where the stuff I use consistently are going to be the environment stuff. So Viking Village, which is free, and also all the Naturemanufacture environments, and my own stuff as well, and then mixing them all together. Because when I'm prototyping anything, I like it to be pretty. And what I love about the Naturemanufacture, it's Naturemanufacture, all one word. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. So what I love, like the RPG I'm working on right now, it's the meadow environment, and it's just that's the demo scene, and their demo scenes are pretty much drag and drop. You just load it up and you can use it. There's no issues with them. So you can just grab them, use the demo scene for prototyping. It looks good. It feels good. And it's realistic because, you know, even if you replace it later in your project, you're pretty much going to have something like that if you're building some sort of open world environment. So I always just use those demo scenes as my default, like, what am I going to, you know, prototype with?
Those look pretty nice. How do those perform for you now? It's been a while since I've grabbed one of their packs.
Yeah, I'm still using the built-in pipeline for them, and they work great. There's no frame rate issue. I think I was streaming the other day with it and doing 4K in the editor, full screen 4K at like 40 frames per second, and that's with a bunch of code that was probably dragging me down, and 4 other cameras going to a render texture and all this other stuff.
Right, and that's in the editor while you're building stuff.
In the editor, yeah.
Yeah, the last time I remember really trying to use a lot of their stuff was when VR first came out and the constraints were insane. It was like nearly impossible, but I found a couple of the packs that I could use if I just kind of trimmed things down and optimized a little bit that worked well. But the outdoor ones were always hard. I mean, that was always a problem with every outdoor pack though, in Unity in anything with VR when it first came out, because there's so much stuff getting rendered. But the cities and stuff are really cool. I'd like to try it again though with the Quest sometime plugged in, or with one of the other headsets, and see how they are now that performance is so much better. You know, it's been a while, many years since that came out. That's cool. Yeah, they're really nice looking packs too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them on sale. Let's see, what's the out of all of them, which one would you say is like the nicest looking? Like if somebody was just gonna grab one.
Yeah, Forest probably over the meadow, because you can make a meadow out of it, but there's more options. But it really depends on if you're trying to build, like for my use with the demo scene, it depends on if you want a forest or if you want a more open space. But right. You know, essentially they're very similar in that regard, because it's just more foliage, but kind of both. Kind of both.
That's cool. Yeah, I assume it's going to matter a lot based on like what you want to build.
But I did.
What was that, Jason?
Apparently, at some stage in the past, I bought the forest environment. I don't remember doing it, but apparently,
that's a common occurrence in many circles.
I said a graveyard. Interesting. I don't think I've seen that one. Wow. Volcano and lava. Let's check that out real quick. Oh, it's not on sale.
There was another one that was on sale. This is, I think, might be the older version. Right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
The 2019 lava volcano environment. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I think I might have one. I think I might have the old one of this. Yeah, that looks neat. They did a VR game in a little inside lava thing. I think it was the first version of this. Neat.
Yeah.
That's cool. So that's the only thing you'd say you use all the time?
Those are consistent, and of course the Infinity PBR stuff. Shameless plug.
Yeah. Why don't we take a look at some of those real quick?
Yeah. One of the questions was, have you ever made an asset? So I think that's squarely a question for you.
I've made an asset or two.
Yes.
The two that are on sale are the RPG character bundle, which includes the dragons and a bunch of other stuff.
For some reason, I keep thinking if I click on the name there, that it's going to show me all of
I see.
the things.
Yeah.
I keep clicking on the wrong. Okay, so here we go. So we got the RPG bundle and the monster one.
And the low poly one, yeah.
Let's pull up the high poly one first. Take a peek at this thing.
Yeah, it's the prettier one.
Yeah.
This is the one that has basically like everything that I think you'd need as like the default. I'm gonna make a fantasy RPG. What do I need? It's dragon, goblin, horse, human, elf, half orc, wardrobe, armor, weapons, sound, everything you might need to make an RPG.
All of the characters, right?
All the characters, yeah. There's customization built in. There's the source files for Substance Painter, so if you want to retexture them, you can do that. Animations, they're all humanoid for the humans, so of course you can use other animations as well.
Those guys look really cool. I'll go into the next one because this next part's got dragons.
Dragons, yeah, dragons.
These are in there. And these guys are freaking awesome.
Everybody loves dragons. Yep.
Yeah.
Is there a picture of the generate button in this video? Oh yeah, you can kind of see him just randomly changing.
Randomization. Yeah, I mean, I try to make any of my stuff. I try to make as customizable as possible because it's important. I think when you're making something to customize it, also have some variety in your game. And so, like the dragons have 3 different heads. There's 3 different back options plus the option of no back. There's mesh morphing, so you can kind of morph the facial features and the body around a little bit and get some more variety out of it. It comes with a bunch of textures, but of course you can create your own textures. So there's a bunch of just me pressing a random button that randomizes a bunch of the different things.
Yeah, that's what made me want it when I first saw it. I remember the first time I saw the thing, I was like, that is cool as shit. You just make all kinds of dragons. Like, I want an ice dragon and just keep hitting the button until I get a cool blue one.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is right there is the mesh morphing, just me moving the sliders back and forth so you can kind of see the range. Just there's, I don't know, a few dozen different sliders that you can adjust, and they conform in different ways, and you can make them look really cool. You can put them to the extreme and make the dragon look really funny looking too, if at the extremes of all the options. But
yeah, they're super cool. Let's see. Lots and lots of dragons. And then let's see, what's the next one in here? Oh, humans. I've seen humans. Armor pack. Man. It's just, oh wow, 9 minutes of armor. A lot of armor.
That's the equipping tutorial, because I released the armor with its own rig, and then you have to run a script. Although I need to update this because now it's automated. But basically the armor is separate from the humans, and then you bring them as a child to the humans, and then you can run a script to link the bones so that they animate properly. But my latest version, which is why this video is now outdated, my latest version, I have a script that I'm calling like prefab child manager or something like that, where you can just make a bunch of groups of prefabs and then click a button, and that brings all the prefabs into the right space that you've assigned. And then if they are my stuff where they can be rigged, you can click an option so that when they're brought in, they automatically rig themselves to the character. So that even at runtime, you can just quickly replace the armor and just bring in the armor you need. It rigs itself automatically, and it just keeps on animating and stuff.
Oh, that is pretty sweet. I haven't actually used that, so that is way cooler than I thought it was. That's pretty impressive.
That one's more new. But it is really nice, and it's definitely something I've been using in my own RPG recently. And for anyone who's been watching that development, it's been a sort of a lifesaver for myself, just because the amount of time it takes to manage wardrobe on characters, 6 different bodies with X number of wardrobe options and combinations. Nobody wants to manage that. So
no, you got to have a good system for it, and getting clothing tools and like systems working in games is always like I would say it's one of the more challenging things that people have to deal with, at least that I've seen like working on MMOs. One of the things where like nobody really wanted to do it because they know there's going to be all these weird things, and then you haven't hit it yet, but eventually somebody wants to add a tail to the character. Or whatever, or some other weird. They want to add in some weird character that nothing works with. But it sounds like you've got a really good system to just kind of get all the armor actually working on and have it be relatively easy to use, though, and just be able to swap out the visuals without having to try to figure that out, because that is not a small task by any means.
No, it's not. And now it's down to either in the editor just one click, one button, and it turns things off and turns things on, and then in the runtime, one call. Just call one thing and you're set.
I don't have that equipping tool. I need to make sure that I get that in there and try that out. All right, what else we got here? I'll go through a couple more.
There's a whole bunch of videos.
Goblins. We saw the dragons. Check out the goblin, dude. So what's it like? I guess like we're talking about assets. So what's it like selling stuff on the asset store? Like, what's that process like? So if somebody like say they wanted to do their own assets, they wanted to sell stuff on the asset store, like they're an artist or they're a coder or whatever. What would they do? How would they get started? Like, how did you get started?
I got started just because I was buying stuff. I made the Barbarian from with all art from the asset store, and the customization stuff was something that was lacking and I wanted. So I started, instead of buying art for my game, I decided to buy art for the asset store that I would use in my game, and it would be customizable, etc. So that's how I got started. Fortunately, I don't do the modeling myself. I do a lot of the texturing and I do all the Unity side of things, but I don't do the modeling and animating. So I have to pay people. But if you're somebody who either does all the coding yourself, or if you're the modeler and you're the artist doing all this stuff, and this is something you enjoy doing, the advice I give to people when they ask that is just do it. If you're already going to be doing stuff, maybe you already have a library of stuff just sitting on your computer doing nothing, making no money for you, throw it up on the asset store. You might have to do a little work, make a demo scene, make it look game ready and all that. But once you put it up, it's just there and you can make extra money with it. It's for tools, it requires a little bit more ability to provide some support when people ask questions, or at least predict what questions people are going to have, and then kind of answer them in the tool in some way, shape, or form, and fix the problems that people are going to have. But tools can make a lot of money, and art can make decent cash too. Art's harder, I think, than tools, but
because there's a lot more competition there.
No, there's a little competition. I don't think competition on the asset store is a real competition. Like, I have a feeling that people who buy Bolt also buy Playmaker or whatnot. Like, if you like that sort of thing, you're gonna buy all of it. But I think it's because
graph tools. So I test that.
Yeah, I think it's rather that tools are more versatile. So everybody can make use of something like DoTween, right? But how many people can use a mushroom monster? Even if you're making a fantasy RPG game, you still might not want a mushroom monster in your game. And so, dragons are going to be more popular than mushroom monsters, but forests are going to be more popular than dragons, and tools are going to be more popular than forests. So,
that does make a lot of sense. Yeah. I guess it's and then you have that kind of inverse difficulty, right? The amount of effort to build and maintain a tool is going to be larger, I think, than most of the art. Not all the art, obviously. Some of these environments, I'm sure, are way more work and stuff. But in general,
it's the upgrades. When Unity comes out with something that breaks your asset and you have to update them, that's when it becomes all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have to do this and I have to do it now. Like I can't wait. I've got to get it fixed. And so that can be a little frustrating. And that's one of the problems with, like, I put a lot of tooling in my artwork. And so I always run the risk that Unity is going to break, or that I will have a bug. Like, that's very common if I'm not the best coder, so I might have bugs that break projects. And I've taught myself now to always, test my assets as much as possible before I release it, because inevitably somebody's gonna be like, hey, it doesn't work at runtime because I forgot to comment out some part that requires an editor component thing, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
I can't do a build.
yeah. I'm like, oh shoot, okay. Yeah.
I will say though that the responsiveness of a dev is often a major recommendation factor for me. So for example, one of my favorite assets is let's see, where is it on my list here? Koreographer. So there's Koreographer and Koreographer Pro. Now I'm a sucker for any audio-based tool or asset anyway. I just love anything which kind of does cool audio stuff. But specifically, I love Koreographer because I was working with that tool on a client project ages ago, and I contacted the dev and got like immediate response back. And just having that level of engagement to kind of help me out, I was like, I'm sold for life. I'll always recommend this because that kind of thing is invaluable.
Yeah, you can get a sense for that too. I think when you look at the just the resources available from any publisher, whether it be just the responses on comments and reviews, or clicking into their Discord if they have a Discord, or their forums if they have a forum, wherever they communicate with people, and just seeing what kind of communication is going on. Hopefully you never need to use it, right? Because things just work. But if you do, it's really nice to feel like, okay, I'm probably going to be able to get help from either the developer or some community members or something to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, there has been some assets where I chose not to buy them because either there was a negative comment with longer than 4 months of no reply, which means everyone knows if you're an asset dev and someone gives you a negative comment, you need to reply back and say, sorry that happened. Can I help you out? That's an immediate sort of diffuse the situation. And if they don't, it means they're not monitoring that and they don't care. So if I see negative comments with no replies, I immediately know the dev isn't really paying attention to that. And so that's a sign you're not going to get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, in general, like when I buy an asset, I just go in assuming the worst, assume that there will be no support at all, right? Like just assume it, and if there is support, great. But like just because I felt like I've done it before, where like I went in and like I asked for a ton of help, and I probably went way overboard asking for help, asking way too many questions, and yeah, it never went. It doesn't always go well. I've had situations that they just got mad and stopped replying and other things. So.
One of the most embarrassing feelings is I did once. I asked for help on an asset, and I was like, "It's not working. I need this. It's for a project. I'm panicked. It needs to whatever." And over the course of me contacting them, I realized I'd messed up something dumb on my side, and I felt so embarrassed. I was like, "I'm sorry for wasting your time. This is entirely my fault." And, like I should have just paid closer attention. I missed like one line in the documentation or something, and so
that's always my case too.
Yeah.
A lot of the support requests I get are actually have nothing to do with the assets themselves, and more just like they're sort of not to be derogatory, but they're how do I use Unity questions. Right. And it's because a lot of people are newer and they're still learning, and I mean the most basic one I got once was somebody asked, how do I make a prefab? Like, how do you turn that into a prefab? And I was like, oh wow, okay. But you show them how to make a prefab, and then now they're better off for it and still using your assets, and maybe they'll buy the rest of your assets later. So
yeah, and just get them on the right path, start showing them the things to do.
Yeah, cool. There's just so much to learn for a new person. So
oh yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. Let's see, where was that other if I click here, it'll take me there. I'm gonna see the other pack, the low poly pack.
Low poly, yes.
Because the low poly stuff is something that I also love. I don't know why I like low poly things. Like
I just in general prefer low poly. I genuinely do.
I just think they're neat, but no real reason.
I like the idea of it, but I've never actually wanted to use it in a project myself. Just the realistic stuff speaks way more to me. But with these stuff, I was like, everyone's using low poly. I've got these characters, and I realized that I could get them converted and use the same animations I already had and the same form. So I was like, okay, well, it's not that much of an investment. It's an investment, so hopefully it works out. But in the end, you get low poly characters now. And I realized Cinti Studio's got a lot of environments, and they have some characters, but they need, they don't have like a huge library of bad guys for all these fantasy environments they've been putting out. So
yeah, no, that guy is cool. Even this mushroom. So did you find that worked out well doing the low poly ones? Are they relatively popular for you?
Relatively, yeah. I think it's going to be with all art, since I do have to pay people up front to do the work, it's a longer term investment, and in general it takes 2 or 3 years to pay back a standard character. And I think these are probably going to be the same, where it takes about 2 years or more to get back that investment. But long term, that's, you know, it builds up the library and it helps me out, helps other people out, and it's just there. So from an investment standpoint, I think it's fine. It's from the usability standpoint, I like the way they look. I think they look pretty good in the Cinti stuff, and that was really the goal, is to say, okay, can these work in this environment, and then can people make use of them? So it's definitely been fairly simple to get them over and get them processed and get them up. I've got 2 more that I need to go through later today and get them set up, and so we'll get the whole library over pretty much, at least for characters. I'm not sure about environments though.
Okay, yeah, that is cool. I like the high poly version of these guys, like these chests, and the low poly ones are hilarious.
Someone, Nicholas, on the chat asked what my most successful assets are, and is the dragon and the humans.
Okay, I would have guessed the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon and the first and the human second were basically carrying the entire library for quite a few years. That without the dragon, I would have closed up shop years before. I mean, I ended up getting a full-time job because I wasn't making enough money. So I would have had to do that a lot sooner if it wasn't for the dragon. But the dragon, the human, and now, you know, the character bundle is I think the most now, simply because it's kind of everything. It's all of that put together. So it's just the everything you need thing. And it's
you know what my 5-head high IQ suggestion would be for the next thing is, given you've got the tutorial, the game dev guide, and the other one, the Mark Whaley one, there's a lot of people making animal based games now, as like the protagonist being a fox or a dog or something. If you had a customizable quadruped dog / thing system, and you could do the same thing as you could with the dragons, I think you'd do gangbusters with that. I think you'd make a fortune if you would like a modular dogs and cats, or dogs and, you know, wolves style thing.
One of the challenges has always been fur for that, and that's actually why I haven't done fur yet, or fur animals yet, for the most part, because of that. But there's
low poly. If it was just the low poly with the same mesh altering, that I think that would be more than enough.
You've seen Malbur's stuff, have you? With the low poly wolves and animals, he's got a whole slew of animals in the low poly style.
Where's that?
Well, there's animated animals from Polyperfect, which is pretty cool.
This one?
The top left one, yeah, and then so there's that. In that
I think I actually have this one, yeah.
And then the Malbur's has a whole bunch somewhere on there. I don't know if they're on sale, but this is one of the things where I try, as a publisher myself, I try not to reinvent any wheels. Like, if somebody else is doing something better than me, then I'm not gonna try to like do the same thing. I'm only gonna do the same thing if there's something I want that they're not giving me, you know. So for all these animals, I don't know. But so realistic versions.
I think I actually have the full poly art animal pack from Malbur's. But I guess the thing is, that's really cool for populating a scene out. But if I was doing anything like for example, if I wanted to do a project where it was generating some various different like, if you've ever seen the game Equinox, it's basically a bunch of animals that are different. They sort of breed and evolve and change. There's no real capacity to do that without manually rolling your own randomized tools that have their own genetic algorithm and going crazy with it. But if you had real-time characters, you could just like slide values to sort of make them fatter over time, or have them sort of you know, do different things, or have them evolve and grow and change in shape and whatever. I'd say that's a use case that isn't currently met with the asset store.
True. Mesh morphing is definitely something people don't put in their packs.
Is that a relatively easy thing for people to put in there?
From my understanding from the modeling side, yes, you're just basically making versions and setting them as for blend shapes, just the same you would for any animated blend shapes. So it's just they're not animated. The more difficulty comes with the tooling side. If once you're in the editor, you can you can see them in the skin mesh renderer, just a drop down and control the sliders that way, and you can code that as well. But then it gets more difficult when you want to do that quickly and easily, and then so I provide a tool for that.
Wrap a tool around that, which would have good ranges and understand what constitutes different sliders, and
yeah, and then especially with things like wardrobe, where hey, I just made the bicep bigger, and so now all these other things need to change because the bicep got bigger. So I have a built-in system for that using a script and basically well-named blend shapes, so that the script recognizes what shapes need to be modified. But unless you have a system like that, it can get a little unruly once you start, expanding it more and more and more.
So keeping it very standard, I assume, was really important.
From the very beginning, yeah. The naming convention is like there's 3 parts and 4 parts, and it has to be this, it has to be that. Otherwise, the script won't recognize what blend shapes are what and which ones to link to which and whatnot.
Okay, let's see. What is this one? Just refreshing the page.
Oh yeah, that's like a Pokemon looking thing. Yeah, I've seen that. That's basically different evolving animals.
Yeah, speaking of, this one evolves, so this one definitely fits that bill.
See, YouTube and Google were listening. They knew what to show you. That is pretty cool. Like a little yeah, 3 tiers. You can do a bunch of different kinds of games with this. Yeah, that's the problem, man. Now I just want to make a game with these where these guys upgrade, but I don't have a reason to make them up. Actually, I had a game where I wanted to make guys upgrade. Let's add this to my cart. I had one, and I had a really hard time coming up with a way to do art where they could upgrade, and I ended up just making slightly bigger guys that changed colors. This is much cooler. I'm gonna grab this pack. Let's add this to my cart. All right, this is gonna be an expensive live stream.
Well, if we're doing that, I'll go through the list of other ones that I recommend here. So one of
let's do that.
The question that was asked earlier was anything good for imposters. I think Amplify imposters is kind of magic. That's just like the way I've seen this used on like mobile stuff to the point where it's the performance savings are kind of insane.
All right, let's pull this one up. You want to explain what this does to everybody?
So imagine you got a 3D model that's going to cost a lot visually to render, these like giant objects with tons of tries. Well, what you can do is you take an object model and you take a load of pictures of it, and it just takes photos at like a ton of different positions around it. And then it creates a sprite in the background, which is going to show you the representative sprite relative to the camera angle you're at. So you'll have a hard time visually telling that you're just looking at a correctly angled sprite versus a 3D model from range. And it means that tons of the background objects can all be just, textures. And it's amazing how like massive performance gains you get not having to render models, and you don't have to deal with a lot of issues with LODing where it flickers between different model sets. It's just like it visually looks really impressive. You can actually get surprisingly close to them. Like, yeah, if I'm ever doing anything with large scale objects, I almost will always use something like this. And this one is the best set that I've seen for this at the moment. But yeah, it's really good.
What's the setup? I saw in the description it said one-click setup, but what's the setup like if you had an existing level and you just want to implement it?
Well, you do it per model, but it is pretty straightforward. You just click the model, it'll like open up in the scene, do the bunch of images, and then you just drop in it basically has a replacement prefab you'd swap in instead of the one you were using.
Okay, cool.
So
then if you get close, will it use the model too?
I'm not sure. I haven't played with the settings that in depthly, but I've seen projects with it set up. I haven't set it up in a lot of this stuff myself because I don't really work on projects to that scale. But I know somebody making a very large scale game who swears by this.
Maybe you could set it up with the LOD. So LOD2, it just uses the imposters. And
yeah, then it switches to the.
I'll do that system. Yeah.
I was wondering. Yeah. I mean, that's what I kind of assume. But okay, cool. Oh, that's a cool one. All right, what else you got, Jason?
I mentioned one of my favorite. I want to plug it anyway. It's such a great asset. Koreographer and Koreographer Pro. So
with a K.
K, yeah, Koreographer.
Hey, how do we spell this?
K-O-R.
Koreo.
There you go.
I'm not an amazing speller.
I'm
Okay.
the worst.
So this one is just so much fun. Now I'm biased because like
this one right here, the Pro that's on sale.
Well, whichever one I'd say. There is the other one that's cheaper, but I do think it's worth getting Pro anyway, just for the extra tools. But yeah, it's basically, it allows you to take an audio track and generate a beat map for it. So you can either have it automatically generated if you've got Pro, or if you're using the free one, you have to tap it out yourself. But effectively, it's kind of like Timeline, but Timeline specifically for your audio and for audio tracks. So you can have a ton of event data and do stuff that's reactive to your audio, and it's really satisfying.
Interesting. It's hard to see it without hearing the audio going there.
It
so
is, yeah. You'd have to check it out, but I would say like once you've worked on projects that have had like stuff pulsing and bouncing to the beat of the music, it just makes the whole thing so much cooler.
And that's essentially what it's doing. It's really hard for people, I think, people to see. Let's see, is there a video here that shows? Oh, these are like tutorials, yeah. But if you listen to this, if you could hear it, nobody else can hear it because they're not able to hear my sound. But yeah, everything's bouncing along to the music, so it is pretty cool. Guys, just go check it out. Go watch the video.
It sounds like one of those like super hard problems. Like, I want to make this kind of game, and then most people are probably going to be thinking like, where the heck do I even start?
Yeah,
for a rhythm-based game.
And I've looked at every solution, and the usual one is you just generate a BPM yourself. So you just calculate a BPM for a track, and that gets you a steady 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But that's not very satisfying. If you want a game that really feels engaging, you want to actually use, beats that are more unique and interesting to the track. So what I do is I drop an audio clip in, I'll put my headphones on, and I'll just listen to it at like 0.70% speed or so. And it's just a keyboard button you press. And as you're listening to it, you choose a particular instrument or the lyrics or something, and you just tap out along to the track. You save it, and then you do that for 4 or 5 different tracks. You hook up an event system, and then every time the event happens, you subscribe to one of those events, and then you can do something, which means you can get multiple layers of events happening simultaneously that are on like one that only kicks in at certain points in different sections, and you can make a really engaging interactive experience. So yeah, that's just one of my personal favorites from a sheer, like, I think it elevates a project quite well. And there's one that's much cheaper, but
yeah. In my head now, I'm thinking, okay, wouldn't it be cool? Because this is a rhythm-based game, and you can clearly see the beats. But what if, like, in an RPG that has nothing to do with rhythm-based, you still have the music in the background, and the attacks just happen to be synchronized with the beats that you could barely even hear?
They have a sample project for that. They have a thing where they use that one, the female protagonist game they've made where she's swinging the things at the dog monsters. They've got an example of that where they're using that, and every time you do a swing attack, it like alters the music relative to the attacks you're doing as a running around third person game.
Yeah, you could create a lot of subtle experiences, I think, where maybe the player doesn't even realize that there's synchronization going on, but that goblin sword swing just happened to be a split second late because it wanted to line up so it would hit you right with the beat.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm sorry, listening to you guys and watching this one at the same time, that's bouncing along. Like, I could see you using it in a bunch of different things like that, just wherever it fits, wherever you can have music and a thing moving around. Could be some little magical area of some stuff happening, or crazy disco room.
Yeah.
Or the combat. I want to see the combat one too, but I didn't see it. What's that?
Yeah, it should be there. The combat one should be there in one of the videos. And again, it doesn't have to be over the top. Like it can be like just a passive thing where just lights are pulsing relative, and you just get like, that's what I really like. You don't have to go ham with all of these over the top effects. I wish I could find that one because but yeah, either way, I think it's really valuable. It's just one of those really fun things to add.
Yeah, seems cool. And what else you got on the list? Let's get some more.
Sorry, go on.
Wet stuff, if I can throw one in there. Oh, it's not on sale.
Yeah.
But it's still cool looking.
Let's pull it up anyway. Wet stuff.
It's $18, so it's practically on sale at that price. But it basically adds wetness in to anything, and it just looks really. I haven't used it yet myself. We're gonna make a tutorial video with my environments because it looks so great. But I mean, just looking at the video, like these drips and stuff are just so realistic.
That does look cool. Are there requirements? Okay, so no URP support yet. So it's working with the standard pipeline currently?
Yes.
Okay, and then it's going to be...
It's got integration.
Works for
like
VR.
Yeah.
Neat. This looks cool. Okay, cool. And then it looks like it'll have URP eventually. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's like a full-time job for somebody. Oh, that's cool. Watching the water splashes. All right, what's up? What's the next one?
Another one I use on a lot of projects is Master Audio. That's an old guard asset that's been around for a very long time.
Master Audio, AAA sound.
So this was before Unity had the whole mixers and buses and stuff. Now that doesn't make this redundant. It's worth knowing that this was even before any of that was a thing. So this effectively takes all of the basically is an audio system that you can drop in. Now if I was doing something bigger budget, I would switch to Fmod instead. But if I'm doing like a small enough or medium-sized project, this is so easy to drop in. You drop in all of your different WAV files and or whatever audio clips you're using. You can generate buses and have it do all of the stuff you'd expect, like weighted likelihoods for footsteps, or switch out between different ones, or randomize your explosions, or pitch wobble your various different things. And effectively, it handles all of that stuff. It's just a single way to manage a lot of music and sound effects and all that stuff in a way that's a lot easier to do an event-driven system than having to write all of that code yourself. So
what are they doing right here? What am I seeing here with these blasts?
Yeah, so what you do is you drop in an audio clip and it makes a set that's effectively like you could have variations on a set. So you name it explosion, for example, and you can have then multiple audio clips in that explosion named group. And then you can have certain ones have different pitches and wobbles and stuff. So you could have like it becomes a single audio event you fire, but it handles the like weights and randomizers and switching out between it. You can have it sequential through like footstep 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. You can have it like randomly picking between the four of them. So effectively it converts just like the concept of an audio clip to firing into an audio bus, and you just sort of do it handles all of the configuration of what that really means, you know.
Okay. That seems pretty powerful.
It's got
pretty cool, like a time, like kind of like just a big time saver of a lot of stuff that you might want to manually build and just throw together really quickly. But this seems like a much better version of it.
Background music version thing where you could have a bunch of you put a bunch of music clips in. It'll automatically crossfade your music from one to the other in a playlist of things. It's like, to be honest, none of it's something you couldn't write yourself, but it does two things really well. One, it's just there and it's done and it's fast. And two, if you look at its integrations list in the description, it integrates with everything. So I mentioned Choreographer earlier. It can work with Choreographer, so all of those Choreographer events can feed into Master Audio. It works with like Behavior Designer and Doozy and all the other different things. So it's such an easy asset to drop in and just instantly integrate with whatever you're working with.
Yeah, it seems good to me. Like, I mean, they said it's all stuff that most people could probably figure out how to do, but you would spend a lot of time building this stuff up and getting it right. Like even just getting your background music playing and blending right and working across scenes and stuff. But then all this randomization, it seems good to me.
And they've done the good job of doing stuff like having prefabs. So you do the whole like generate, and it'll like drop a music player into your project and generate the prefabs. You can flag it as being persistent or not, like all of just the I don't want to deal with this kind of problems are just done with for you, which is quite nice. So there's that. Then there's my favorite character controller, so Kinematic character controller.
That's funny. I was just opening that in a new tab. I'm going.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
That is honestly my favorite. Like I don't use any other character controller now. That's the only one I use for anything that's my own project.
This one right here, right?
That one there.
What's the reason? What does it do that's so cool?
To be honest, the reason is it just feels really good. Like there's a lot of character controllers that it just doesn't have that feel I want. But the thing about this one is all of the physics interactions are really well written. So everything, like if you were walking over the different uneven terrains or standing on platforms, There's none of the jankiness that some systems tend to have. They have all of the features you'd want as a basic. Like you can swap your gravity direction. You can have it have slope limits. It's got all of the kind of basic stuff you'd expect from a good character controller. But probably what is a negative for some people, but a positive for me, is it doesn't overdo it. The system they give you gives you like all of the physics, all of the raycasts, all of the ground checks, all of the plumbing you want, but then they don't layer a bunch of stuff on top of it. Some packs, like, again, no offense, they're good systems, but things like Invector and the rest of those, you're buying into an entire system with their own weapon stuff, their own, tons of other components and add-ons and whatever. This is just your standard character controller that moves around the scene, collides, interacts, pushes physics objects or gets pushed by physics objects, but that's it. And from there on, you build your own character on top of that. So you don't have to deal with whatever other systems and stuff are in place. They just give you a really robust set of physics interactions and all of the collisions and all of the complicated math. And beyond that point, you can just build your own force applying things for powers and effects and things. So it's exactly the right level of complexity that I want out of a character controller.
So essentially, it doesn't force you to change your project to work with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That you
Fully
just drop
agree
it in,
with
and
that concept.
you will have to write some of your own stuff. So you won't get there's some example scenes where they show you like double jumps and dashes and various things if you want those. And this little camera example is quite nice. They have a little camera script, but again, I would swap that out and use Cinemachine or whatever. But like for what it is, it's just everything about, like, try it out compared to the other ones. And I just find that, like, I've never had weird physics glitches with this. I've never had moments where it like bumps the terrain oddly or clips to the floor, or it's never done anything odd, which is so rare to say from a character.
Yeah, that seems like a winner.
Yeah, I think I have this one already, but if not, I'm going to grab it and dig through the entire thing because it looks pretty amazing. It's been a while since I got to use somebody else's character controller.
There's an asset called Ignis, which I think is somewhat new and looks like something that could easily be used in many projects. IGNIS.
IS.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check that out. Play with fire.
Yeah, for those of us who like to play with fire.
All right.
So what's cool about it is I haven't used it, but it spreads the fire, which is really neat. So it's not just fire, but it spreads it. And then they say there's integrations with like environment assets. So when it starts raining, the fire will kind of die out and sizzle out. And you could change, like there's some of the demos where they show the texture changing from, the wood to charred wood and stuff.
Interesting. And now makes me want to build a fire game. That is pretty cool. I like how it's spreading too.
Yeah.
We lost Jason.
Oh yeah.
Jason, you disappeared.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my internet's been a bit rough today, unfortunately. So I've been dropping out from time to time.
You missed all the fire. And I'll watch a wolf catch a
Ignis.
stick on fire and then go burn down the.
This is payback.
And now you gotta make a new game where you're a wolf that burns things down. Fire wolf. Interesting. Huh. That does look pretty cool. Have you seen this one before, Jason?
I have. That's on my wish list. I can't really justify it just yet because I've absolutely zero things I can even think of doing with it. But I really appreciate it from a coolness factor.
Yep.
I agree. It looks great. Yeah, I also, outside of making a game where you're a wolf that burns people's houses down, I'm not sure what I would build either. There were games where I had lots of fire before, but nothing now.
So another one I recommend a lot is Shapes. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah.
Let's check it out.
It's by Freya Homer.
Oh. Well, I've seen some of her videos on YouTube.
Yeah. So the reason this asset is so good is if you've ever worked with UI drawing stuff where you're not just using, your own images, but you're actually trying to like either do gizmos or debug stuff, or you're drawing to the UI with the graphics library. It's all alias to hell. It's really, really hard to do good lines at runtime. And this is like really nice lines that are all crisp and like dynamic UI components. There's like a million things you can use this for. So the only problem I have is oftentimes, again, I don't want to include this as a client asset, but for anything I'm doing for myself that has like UI widgets and things, it's the only asset that does good, clean kind of UI lines.
That's cool. So you're gonna make a line, just choose a line, and you get all these options.
Yeah, and this is only the front facing stuff. There's obviously there's an entire scripting library for this to do your own really cool stuff like that, basically.
Yeah,
insanely flexible stuff.
Yeah, but be warned, like it's not as easy as it looks. Like you will have to at least understand some of the shape math stuff you're doing. There's a bit of requirement to know what you're doing, but it is like it's well worth learning how to use.
Oh, it looks like there's full docs and
the docs are good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a good sign for me personally. I like to see that they've got like external docs on a web page somewhere where I can go through and see how to use stuff, or videos explaining how to do things. And this looks interesting. A polyline. Huh. Looks cool to me.
Yeah.
I've added it to my list.
Then next up on my list here, I've got Highlight Plus. It's a really straightforward kind of highlighting glow effect for selecting things, but it works really well. It looks good, does the job. I've used this on many scenarios where I just need to drop a nice selectable highlight on things and does the job.
Like show what the thing they need to click on is, or what's active or whatever. So does this work on you just drop it onto a model, or
yeah,
you remember how you
drop it? Yeah, you just drop a script onto an object and it will draw over the renderers for you, and then you can tweak sliders to have it as an internal glow or external glow, or you can choose the colors and fades. You can have there's a mobile performance shader versus the normal shader, and you can kind of tweak it quite nicely.
And it's not a shader itself, so it doesn't replace the shader on the model.
It has its own shaders that it adds on top of the one, so it creates its own thing over your own stuff.
Neat.
Yeah, you don't have to like switch to all of their shader stuff.
That's
and
helpful.
then for a small example, here's a thing I did that's using it. It's not very, maybe it's harder to tell on my one, but just to show that it was just like a bunch of boxes and I set it up so that it highlighted the objects. But it's really simple. It's effectively like the only reason I recommend it is you can just click on a thing and it'll highlight it. Just very straightforward. There's no, if something was, if it was harder to use, I wouldn't bother. But you can have these like glowing overlay effects and little outlines, and you can interact with stuff. And yeah, like I said, it's just straightforward and it works. So that's basically why I recommend that one.
I'll have to check that out. I definitely have use cases for that, like today.
Yeah, nice. Well, I've used a few, and a few of them feel very. The problem I have is a lot of them feel very much like you have to lean into their workflow and use all of their stuff. This one just felt dropped into my project, and it started working, and I didn't have to, do too much.
You have to go change out all your materials and have your characters no longer look right and stop working with something else. That is cool. I like that one a lot. All right. Add it to cart.
There's a lot more, so we're going to keep going. There's obviously the entire suite of the realistic effects packs. I know some of them are on sale, but they all look great. Like literally all of them are just really well done. They're one of the few assets. All of these, pack 3, pack 4, each of these. Yeah. The cool thing about these is they're one of the few particle system creators that like make a comprehensive effect, which include things like projectors and 3D models as part of the effect. So it's not just particles, or like they actually have like stuff coming out of the ground or stuff projecting onto other surfaces. And yeah, it's a nice comprehensive set of integrated effects.
And this video is really nice. Great use of the Unity assets for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I actually bought this when I saw this video. I was like, instant buy. I bought it. Like
I bought this one too. Yeah, I know. I have this one.
I specifically bought it when I saw one of the effects where the ground opens up and there's like a big giant fissure in the ground, and I was like, they're probably using projectors, but I need to know how they're doing that. And I had to open it just so I could figure out the effect they were doing. It was well worth it.
Yeah.
The as an aside there, the publisher has a new water pack out. It's not on sale because it just came out like in March 25th, but it looks gorgeous. And I know there's a handful of water packs out there on the store, but this one looks really pretty. And given the realistic effects pack quality, I'm that KWS Water System. Yeah,
this one right here.
Yeah, that's on my wish list for sure. For when I start dealing with water.
Oh,
that does look gorgeous.
Yeah. There's a lot of water out there, and a lot of it looks really pretty. But this one, I think, looks prettier than the rest. And I mean, yeah, that type of stuff is just like phenomenal. And in this, every one of these shots, I'm like, oh yeah, I want that. Yep.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
So if we're talking other guarantees, recommendations, there's the classic Final IK. Everyone should have Final IK, I think.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me look at this. A couple more of these realistic effects
Oh, yeah,
ones.
I think the Fisher one I was talking about is on this one. I think it's on 4.
The 4th one?
Like,
yeah, it's definitely on 4th.
I think the entire ground cracks open with this like Fisher
like
thing.
An earthquake effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fire. It's in this video?
There's one.
I thought it was.
Well, that's not opening up, but more rather.
No, that one is like an actual, like it overlays onto the ground. Maybe it was in 3 then. Never mind.
I'm sure it's in 4. It's
yeah, I thought it was
certainly
in 4.
In 4. There it is.
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
That one there.
Cool.
That looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it's another thing to note too, as well. Like, it's not just the effects. They do give you all of the scripts for like targeting objects and stuff, and it'll do the hit collision. It'll swap out for the collision particles. It will, as it goes through the air, it'll do the raycast stuff for you. Like, they have a good, almost entire weapony type system to handle this stuff as well. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool pack. I remember it's been a while since I used it, but it's very impressive. Yeah. Okay, what else? What else you got, Jason? Let's check out a couple more bullets.
Someone in the chat asked, "What's the use case for Final IK?" Do you want to explain that?
So Final IK and Puppetmaster are almost hand in hand. 2 things that I use a lot. Well, I would say I use. I'll be honest. I don't physically use it. I work with people who use it on all of the projects. But effectively, what it does is it lets you do a lot of like VR is a really good use case for this. It's where you can have your character models mapped to the positions of the controllers and things, where it just automatically looks good. So it's effectively, it does the inverse kinematic. So that's what IK stands for, inverse kinematics. It effectively means that if you move the wrist of your object, all of the body parts stay in a good position, so it doesn't do wacky, bent arms and things. So if you've got characters that want to like reach out and grab something, or if you have like if you want your character when they're in a crouching animation to like touch the wall in that sort of cool spy game way, this stuff is how you do it. You have it you basically set target objects and then you weight the bones to like move towards the targets. So it lets you do this really engaging stuff where like the feet keep touching the ground, or like when you walk over terrain, or have characters who sort of engage with their surroundings or reach out for door handles and that kind of stuff. So it really takes the animation to the next level, where what you do is you place your base animation of your character walking, and then after that, you apply the weights for this, and then the weights keep the feet on the ground. So even as you're doing the other animation of swinging your sword, the feet will stay planted on the like hilly ground, even if that wasn't part of the original animation. It's really good.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen somebody use that with my humans and bows, where they just that really nice bow animations, all Final IK. Being able to move it around just like Skyrim and all that,
And one of the simplest use cases, it's such a simple one, is the amount of VR projects we've used where we just use it on an enemy's head so that they can look at you, the player. So they just, when a certain thing happens, they turn to you, say the line of dialogue, and turn away. And that like feel so good as a user when the AI isn't doing the whole like standing stock still looking in the wrong direction. When they actually turn their head to stare at you in the eye, wherever you're standing, it really brings up the quality of these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're kind of showing that here, and I think they're showing a little bit of a difference in this video between the built-in IK, the Animator IK, and then their final IK version.
I do find the weighting is a bit difficult with the original. It doesn't let you like weight the shoulders to the head in a way that lets it feel more organic. There's a lot of like tweaks you can do, but yeah, it's really good.
And then they've got this one, yeah, custom rig.
Yeah,
little robot dudes.
Final IK has been like popular and #1. Like it's always up there, right? For years and years. Yeah. So there must be something to it. I haven't used it myself yet, but I think I bought it years ago.
Well, it's one of those things where you can learn how to write your own IK rig for your robotic arms or whatever. It's not impossible to do that, but it is so much math. You have to do so much to do it. And it's just the fact that this drops in with a nice little editor and gives your characters that organic feeling, like engaging with your environment look. It's such a small price to pay to have your characters climb steps or hills and actually not clip into the floor or float above it. That one thing alone just makes it, because that's the kind of thing where if you're not a game dev and you play a game, it just looks cheap when the character like hovers his way up a hill. But just adding this so that your character actually walks onto the surface of the ground is enough to make it like that much better. And
you can use it on all your projects. That's the nice thing. I got this 8 years ago or whatever. Like whenever Final IK initially came out was right around when I got it. And I've used it on lots of projects since then. So definitely a very cool one. Same with Puppetmaster. You want to talk a little bit about Puppetmaster too, though, because you mentioned it. But
I'll to be honest, I would just say, just look at the asset store description for both, because they both work very well together. But we could be here all day explaining the nuances of the two different ones. But I'll just say they're both really valuable. They're both on sale. Have a look and see if it suits what you need. But like adding ragdolls and stuff too, it's like there's a whole load of cool stuff. Like it's a whole realm of cool physics, interaction, character feature stuff.
Yeah, this one Puppetmaster I've used a few times on projects where I really wanted to do some cool ragdoll stuff. Does not apply everywhere, even though it looks super cool. Like it might not apply to your game, but if it does, it was really easy to use.
Games where you've got the really dodgy ragdoll where your character's arm just stretches off to infinity and it's like doesn't look.
It goes wiggling around like this.
Yeah.
Like flying off your head.
I'm not saying that'll never happen, but like I found the ragdolling with Puppetmaster is really like it works very well for what it is. So
yeah. It's set up and like made by people who know what they're doing for ragdolls instead of hitting a random button. All right, what else we got?
Well, some of them are free. So again, Cinemachine, everyone knows that. That's one. So people were talking about what assets do you use on most projects. Cinemachine is one I add to almost every project. It's just
no longer an asset though. Now it's a package.
I guess technically it's now a package. Yeah, but I guess it was an asset for years.
Yeah, so, same. Yeah, that and Bolt now. No longer an asset. It's now a package.
They still haven't done Pro Grids properly, though. It really annoys me. Now that they've sort of consumed Pro Builder, they still haven't gotten to the point where there is a good version of Pro Grids that's native, which I want them to figure out. Give me the version of Pro Grids that should just be always part of Unity.
Not one I use very often.
Curious. I use it all the time. It's really, really helpful. Well, I did, but it now collides with a lot of the new stuff, so I have to not use it until they figure it out.
All right, what's next on your list?
So everyone's talked about Odin. Odin is an interesting one. Odin is an asset that a lot of people recommend. I'm a little bit cautious with Odin for one thing, which, like I said, I think it's a really powerful asset, but the problem I have is because I do a lot of contracting stuff, that I can't justify using it just because it makes my life or the tools nicer, that I then have to require a client to buy something that they can't really see a tangible benefit for. So I actually make all of my own custom editors and tools myself rather than using Odin. So it's a pity because I really love what they do and everything they do looks great and it's really powerful. I only use it when I'm doing tutorials and I don't want to write custom inspectors for those tutorials. I don't actually use it on projects, which is a pity because if it was a big game and it was my own project, I would probably use it rather than writing custom inspectors for everything. But I don't actually use it very often.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. I'm in the same boat where like if I'm gonna use it, like if it's a project that I'm doing solo and I'm gonna work on it for a long time and build up some inspectors, then Odin's something I'll consider using because it is cool. It makes it a lot easier to do that faster. But if it's something that I have to share with people, then it's much less likely. Or if it's something that's just not going to use a lot of custom inspector stuff. But it's I'm kind of curious to see like if it's ever just going to get bought and dropped into Unity.
It really
One of those
like
things. It's like a usability
the
bonus.
Like just the attributes alone should be added. The fact that Unity don't have their own attributes for like min-max range sliders out of the box and stuff is silly. Like these things should long by now be just native attributes you can include.
Oh, there is one for range on sliders.
There is, but there's not a min-max range. You can't have one where you've got 2 numbers within a clamped range set. You have to use stuff like that.
Yeah, all those. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of room for just putting that in. It would be great if it was like built in or a package. I would use it all the time and recommend it to everybody. Like, exactly. I still recommend like people grab it, try it, use it. It's super helpful. It's just again you can't redistribute it, so you got to be careful.
There's one reason alone I recommend it more than anything else. There's a ton of cool features for making custom windows and stuff, and like loads of people use it for building their own inventory tools. But the one thing it does that single-handedly was like I really want more than anything else is they have an attribute called inline editor, and if you put it over an object, it will take that other object's editor and draw it at the position where that object is. So a perfect example of this is if you're doing something where you're using scriptable objects as data, and you often have to do that thing where you have to double click the reference of the scriptable object in a script to jump to its inspector to change its values to go back to the original object. It can be really annoying having to jump around all the time. What this does is it makes an expandable group, and you can actually change the scriptable object's values in the inspector you're currently in. And that is such a time saver. When you've got like nested scriptable objects that have all of this configuration data, the fact that you can stay on the same inspector and then tweak the different values without leaving and coming back, that is such a valuable feature. It really is.
That does seem pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in Odin. It's just I could go through the list, but I mean it's like a giant list of features and buttons and attributes and things that you get.
Yeah. Easy save is an easy recommendation as well.
Pull that up. Easy save. Complete data and asset serial, or what did it say? I read that wrong. I lost the tagline. Okay, go ahead.
So if you basically need to save data, your classic like I need to save my game problem that everyone asks, and should I use JSON or should I save to XML or should I save to binary? And you get these questions every day from different people asking the question. The truth is, saving is an actual really big problem for quite a lot of reasons. Not just having to like find a system and design it and then connect to it in various places, but once you've done all of that, you're then going to have to find a way to do things like if you're going to export it out, you're going to want to possibly add like a hash so that it can't be edited externally. You're going to probably want to have an abstraction layer so you can switch between local save files and then saving remotely to, Steam Cloud saves. You're probably going to want to have the ability to have backups and multiple save files and things. And all of this is nothing you couldn't do yourself, but it's just a lot of plumbing. Now, I would usually write my own save systems, but I would recommend this for people who are getting started trying to save something. This will do, like if memory serves, I think even Hollow Knight uses this, or they use one just like this. So like it's one of those save systems that just, it will do what you need, and you don't have to learn the 50 million nuanced things required to save. So
that makes sense. I think that's a good recommendation too for people who want to do a game and want to do save systems and don't really have any idea how they would do it. Like you're not really sure because it seems like it just simplifies it. Like you're really just adding in a game object here and then telling it what things you want to save the state of.
You set it up here either with their management thing, or you can just do your standard like singleton style save dot data, and it'll just save it all, and it'll handle building the save file, compounding the objects, returning it for you, all of that stuff was dealt with.
Okay, yeah, and it even says here it's for amateurs, or or why I use it. It's easy to understand, and then apparently it's relatively flexible under the hood. Interesting.
Yep.
I'll have to check this one out. I'm just kind of curious what they do and how they manage it. I've written my own save systems a bunch of times, but
like they're doing things like using JSON.NET, so you know they're serializing correctly. They've got all these other like little bits which make it easier. They let you serialize Unity types, even though I still don't ever recommend doing that. But they do support it if you're just very quickly, you don't understand the differences and you want to just like save a game object position or whatever.
Right. Oh, make it nice and easy. Interesting. You know how it works with upgrading and changing? I assume you have to be somewhat careful, like you've saved and you go move and change and rename a game object and may have an issue, or does it keep track of
I'm
like
not
some?
Sure, because to be honest, one thing that I think most save systems fail at is creating backups during the process of saving. And so I tend to get very paranoid with my save data, and so I don't tend to use tools like this very often. I use it for like demonstration projects and for people who want to get into games. So I haven't pushed its limits by doing things like versioning save files and things. So I don't know how it handles those, but I would trust it's probably pretty good, because everything I have used from it has been very reliable. But to be honest, I haven't used it myself as much as I should to kind of give a good recommendation. I just know people who swear by it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm just kind of curious how they set it all up and how it's working, because I've built a lot of save systems in the past, so it's always interesting to look at other people's and just kind of compare and see what ideas you can get from them. It's one of the reasons I like grabbing some assets too, because a lot of time you can see the code, so you can just dig through, see how it works, and kind of use it as a learning experience in addition to it being a useful tool. Yeah. And not always. Sometimes it's hard to read.
A lot of assets exclusively to see their code and be curious what they've done. Yeah, that has happened quite a lot.
Somebody was mentioning that something about DataBox as a save option too. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a new save solution. I've not actually tried it myself, but I think that's a relatively new asset.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one myself either. But all right, what else we got for assets to check out on sale?
The Vegetation Engine. Now, I've not used this. This is on my wish list of things I would like to find time to play with. But there it is. It's 50% off, and it doesn't have videos, which kind of disappoints me, but it's looks pretty, and it purportedly does things like snow and weather and seasonalities for vegetation and stuff, and it supports all the pipelines.
And you can switch without breaking things. Interesting.
Yeah. So if anyone, so one person on the chat says it's awesome, so that's good, because it looks phenomenal, and it's got compatibility with all these third-party Ignis and Game Creator, Enviro, Amplify, Vegetation Studio. It's got just a huge list of compatibility stuff that apparently they've
got some videos. They're just not at the beginning.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they're just at the end. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Put them in the wrong place.
They do.
So pro tip, asset creators, put your videos at the front. That's what everyone wants to see.
Put your video that shows how cool your thing looks and is, not the one of you talking right at the front, right? Like the demo, the show off one.
Oh yeah, they've got a ton of videos.
Yeah. Wonder if they just added them. Looks pretty cool. So how would you use something like this in a game, Andrew? Like what would you do?
What I would like to do is seasons. So clearly things like rain and wind and stuff is phenomenal and really realistic stuff, but I want to be able to turn any environment into fall, winter, spring, summer, and see those seasons go. I want to be able to cast a magic spell at a tree that turns it into winter, around like a bubble around it that's suddenly winter or something. And all that sort of things. I mean, that ball rolling down this hill was one thing. Like, can you have a fireball that cuts through the grass and burns it, so that when you cast a spell, you get that really immersive feeling that you're not just casting at the enemy, but if it hit the ground, it's going to have a reaction on the ground that's going to last for the next, week in the game and slowly dissipate as things grow around it.
having some impact on the environment.
Yeah, and like this here, where you get this, it's turning into wintertime in front of our eyes, right? So depending on the weather and depending on the time of year and whatnot, yeah, all of that stuff. I mean, look at that. That's really cool. It's those subtle things that I think can take any project and turn it into like just something that people say, wow. And when you're trying to build your brand and your name in a project you're working for or working on rather, if people click that share button because they're impressed by something, then that's what you're looking to do. And this is the kind of thing that, for me at least, makes me want to share stuff, even though I don't like sharing things on social media.
Yeah, this one looks really cool. Let's see, what's this? Detail. Yeah. Oh. Huh.
There you go. Yeah. So if you can cast a spell and turn a tree or an area into a dead zone all of a sudden, and there's so much
like
cool
cursed
stuff.
area, or you can do all kinds of different cool stuff there. I like you thinking that. That's neat. This is the Vegetation Engine. I have to add another one to my cart. Killing me here. All right, what else we got?
Okay, so the next one I recommend is Bakery. Have you used that?
No, I have not.
Bakery is insane. It's really, really good. So if you find yourself doing a lot of light baking, so you're working on a high resolution scene, it's so slow in general. Like light baking, even with the GPU, because the GPU stuff in Unity at the moment is just unreliable, to tell the truth. The amount of times it's crashed for me, it won't render at high resolution. There's tons of issues with the light baking. This is lightning fast and it looks gorgeous. It's as far as light baking goes, there's just nothing better than it at the moment. Now, the only problem I have with it is it's two separate assets. So just using Bakery isn't enough. It'll be really annoying if you're just using Bakery. You need to use their second asset too, which is real-time preview. So there's one called Bakery Real-Time. Now it's a cheap edition, but like if you don't get that as well, you're leaving like half the value on the floor. But what this does is it lets you do that whole like light baking thing where it light bakes as you move around the editor. And you can like preview that it bakes and stuff. It's so good. Like it lets you do like quick bakes of areas. This is basically the best way to do really nice light baking in Unity at the moment.
That is I haven't seen this.
I have watched this so much, and unfortunately, I think it still does not work on Max, which is the bane of my existence and has been since I was a kid.
Well, we've used it for VR projects, so I'm not sure what its limitations are, but yeah, it works. It works well.
Huh. That is pretty cool. It's been a while since I had to bake any big light. Forgotten how long they can take. This looks neat though.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go on.
I've got a pick for you. Paint in 3D. I love the name because it straight up says what it does in the name. I've never used it. Again, I haven't used it, but this is another thing that I would love to. I mean, you can see the use cases just by looking at the video. But painting anything in 3D, the blood splatters. I think one of the next ones is spray painting on a wall, or carving on rocks. I'm not sure if it's how it's working. Like, if it's affecting the texture, so any other repetition of the texture would also get the effect, or if it's somehow local just to that one spot. But
I thought it was painting onto a texture, at least the memory serves, because I've seen other versions of that where you literally you generate the new changes and you apply it to the literal pixels.
Yeah.
Interesting. This one's pretty cool. I mean, I've seen lots of VR games that were like this initially. I wonder if they just like turned the code into an asset. VR support decal painting.
Yep.
Dynamic painting.
Fun fact, there was a time about 6 years ago where we had 5 different clients, all independent, different companies, unrelated to each other, all ask us to do some VR painting project for them that they could market their project with. So it was a popular trend for a while.
That is hilarious. Not a surprise though. A lot of people want to do the same things. That's a cool one. I don't have any use for it personally, but I'm sure I could come up with another project. Very easy to do.
Yeah, I'm imagining like if I combine it maybe with some other coder stuff, but while having, you know, we're walking around a city in some open world game and you can like mark the wall with a special symbol and that'll tell some NPC that, you know, to follow along, or, you know, as some quest, and you have to mark that right symbol, the right pattern on the right wall to show people where the secret entrance is, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a neat little thing. I just wonder like where to use it. Like, you could find some odd edge cases, I think, like that, or like but even there you could just slap up a decal and probably get away with it without having the whole system. Like you need like a good a thing where you're like covering the walls with stuff or spray. I don't know. I struggle with these ones, like coming up with cool use cases for a lot of things. But I like it. Anyway, let's see what else we got.
So the next one is just a producer where all of their stuff is good. It's Archnor VFX, ARCHANOR.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah. Let's check this stuff out.
So if you're doing any sort of particle effect things, these are all amazing. Like I've got like 4 or 5 of these. They're just really simple but really well done little particle systems for shooters or tower defense games or whatever. And for the price you're paying, they're like, you know, $20 or something, and you get these nice looking particle systems that if you're just prototyping out a tower defense or spells or whatever, they've got ones that are polygon looking, they've got ones that are more sci-fi looking, they've got ones that are more magic looking. It pretty much covers your bases on any like mobile or small enough game style particle system.
These are things I consider like library fillers, just to have it in your library, because when you need it, you just pull it and
handy
use it.
Just to grab one.
Yeah, I've used the Toon effects. I haven't seen that magic one though. The magic arsenal. I'm gonna have to grab that. This is a new one for me. They have some really cool ones in here. Let's see, what else have I seen? Oh, the pixel one. I've used this. Use this in
the
the VR
pixel one
game.
and the sci-fi one are 2 of my favorites. They're just really good.
Yeah, that pixel one was really neat. Where's the sci-fi one? Maybe it's on page 2. The epic Toon effects I've used too. Oh, let me check out this polygon one real quick too.
Yeah, I have that one too. That's great.
Oh yeah, that's cool. It's so weird how, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I see particle effects, they just make me think of spells and make me want to make a game to use that spell and like come up with a thing that it needs to do. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. What is that spell gonna have to do?
Yeah, like that one's like that should affect physics. That one should blow things up. That one should, exactly.
Yeah. This is the type of thing that for me it's just like, oh, I want to make my game really pretty, really fast. Let me get a nice particle effects pack, and you throw it in there, and people are like, "Whoa, that's so cool!"
Yeah, like your game is awesome. Is it almost done? No, yeah, these are cool. This one's neat. I don't think I have this one. It's a cool one. Let me check out the sci-fi too. I definitely am gonna grab that magic one. Sci-fi. Oh, okay. Oh, man. I like this one a lot. I want this, but the thing I want to use it for, I can't use it for. Got all excited for a second. What's this one? These ones are pretty cool too. Now I gotta decide if I want to make a sci-fi game or a fantasy game. Cool. Yeah, those are good. Actually, let me add the Arsenal one to my cart real quick. The Magic Arsenal. And you know, I think I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna grab the sci-fi one too. Even though I can't use it in the project I want to use it in. I'm gonna use it in something I need to redistribute. But I think that
fine. I'm gonna add the magic one to my own cart.
Yeah. This looks really cool. And I mean, at $12, I'm gonna struggle to not grab that one. Okay, cool. What else do I need to grab today?
So, next one I recommend is DreamTech Splines. Have you used that?
Did you say Dream Text?
DreamTech Splines.
The last part is how you spell
I
the
think
last.
it's Dream Space Tech, TECH, as in tech. Yeah,
Oh, tech.
DreamTech. Yeah. Maybe it's one word, DreamTech. If you just try splines, it should show up. I think they're one of the only good spline assets.
There it is.
That's fine. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
we go.
So if you're doing any kind of spline-based meshes, whether you're talking about tracks or even like if you're doing just like fences or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Any sort of spline stuff, we've used it for stuff like that, for like fences or for roads or carts or railroad tracks in a mine or like minecart tracks. I mean, and it'll like you can basically generate out the shape and then generate a mesh around it, and yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And to watch it in action, so it's following along the spine. I mean, even just making things follow along a spine is cool. Oh, okay. How'd they do the fence? So do you remember like what are the steps to do something like that?
So you can either place your own mesh and it'll build along automatically and displace it, or you can generate it yourself, which is effectively it's just generating the spline, and so it's up to you which way you want to do it.
So are you just giving it a mesh and then it's just going to repeat along there, I assume, for everybody? So you'll give them like your fence piece or your whatever thing it is that you have, and then it's going to generate and deform it to go along, right?
Yep. Either way, it's just one of those things where it's like if you find yourself doing a lot of paths or bridges or roads, or you want to do like a F-Zero X or Wipeout style racetrack, it's so much easier than trying to manually. Yeah.
One of my friends did a hang glider game in VR. Something like this would have been perfect. He's building out the splines. I forget which tool he ended up using for it, but I mean, doing it without using some tool, I think, is kind of a waste of time because it speeds things up a lot. This looks pretty cool.
So here's a cheap one. Here's a cheap one I recommend to everybody. It's one called Enhanced Scroller.
I've heard of that.
Simple and effective.
Isn't that the best? The simple but effective ones.
It does exactly what you need, and it's very straightforward. So for people who don't know what this really does for you, if you have any kind of repeating list of items, so say you're doing a UI and you've got like a bunch of upgrades or a bunch of weapons or a large inventory full of stuff, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass, because what happens is if you've got hundreds of items, it's going to be rendering hundreds and hundreds of items, and if they're like images and pictures and stuff, it can actually be quite slow and bad for performance. And so if you use a good scrolling solution, it's pooling in the same way that you would pool bullets or spawning or anything else. So what you do is you keep 10 or 12 elements in view, and as you start to scroll, it will reuse the same items and then populate the new data into them. So I would highly recommend something like this if you've got large collections of items you're swapping through.
Okay. And I assume it's relatively easy to use.
Yeah. It's literally just it's a UI component like any other. You drop it in. You have an event for the cells, and you just choose what elements draw, what prefabs for the cells, and you populate the data.
That looks pretty cool too.
Super common use case.
I want to grab it, but it looks neat.
Yeah.
I might grab it just to check out the code. All right,
so there's another one.
Go ahead.
There's another one, Nature Renderer. And again, these are all things that once I get some code up and I'm going to start using, but that also looks really pretty. And I'm not sure how these all these, different vegetation things work together. But they all seem to do things really well. This one purports to speed up the rendering of nature in like dense grass. So you can have really thick grass like that doesn't slow down the game. Much more realistic, I think, than than a situation where you have to limit your grass cards.
Yeah, that looks cool. You got a lot of cool environment ones.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes me like, just it gets me. When I see them, I'm like, ooh, what's that? What's that? But how they all fit
that's
together.
where I struggle. My favorite asset type of any category is tool assets. I love, like, people are mentioning a load of them that are just really good, like the hierarchy ones or the various other assets, but I can't use them for the kinds of projects I work on. So I get really excited when I see new console tools or new hierarchy tools or new Odin tools or new productivity tools that have like overlays onto the UI, onto the scene view for auto placing objects. But I can't give any recommendations because I just can't use them for the kinds of work I do.
Yeah. One of the folks in the chat is asking about day-night cycles, and I think Enviro is on sale right now, and I think it was listed as compatible with these other vegetation ones that we were looking at.
This one right here, sky and
weather.
weather.
Yep, and that like, so there's a bunch of sky weather time systems, Enviro, Unistorm, or Weathermaker, I think it is. And they all seem to do their job really well. So I don't know which one's better. I think I own all three of them at this point. But Enviro has always been around as one of the ones that people talk about. And it's got, I know it has day-night built in and time.
When you use the day-night cycle assets, what's the usual workflow for it? Is it just like you drop it in and it swaps out your skybox and everything just works? Or do you need to go in and actually set up all of your assets and your models and stuff to be able to work with it too?
So all of them seem to be pretty much the same, where there's a drag and drop component where you just bring it over and it, click a few buttons and it just works. You might have to say which light is your directional light. You might have to disable your own directional light. They're all super powerful though, where you can go to more advanced stuff as well. And that's where I haven't yet dug in on any of them, because I haven't decided which one I want to like really utilize in my projects. But they all seem to have that capability of, customizing the clouds, customizing the weather, tying your own systems in with that, so that you could cast a spell and make the weather suddenly turn into thunderstorms, or change it to nighttime like that or something like that. So the problem, this is a good problem to have, I think, is that there's so many of them and they all seem really good.
Yeah, hard to decide. I see to grab them while they're on sale, right? Get two for the price of one, and then pick the better one.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. All right, what else we got? Try to get through a bunch of these. While we're waiting, everybody go hit the like button and subscribe, and go share this stream on YouTube and stuff, so everybody else can, or on Facebook, not on YouTube, wherever you share stuff, so everybody else can see all the cool assets too.
So one that I recommend that is, it's probably so here's one of those ones that you can do it yourself, but again, it's just so much easier to use a tool. So in this case, it's called Befio is the company, and then UI Builder is the asset. So that UI Builder there. So UI Builder, bit of a misnomer. I don't think that's actually a good name for it. It's basically just a collection of pre-made sprites and fonts and basic colors and stuff. There's nothing you couldn't do yourself, but it's so easy if you're prototyping a quick UI or you're doing something that you just want to like grab some shapes. They have all of your standard, beveled edges stuff, all of your, any kind of different sized circles and icons and, standard sliders and whatever. So you can make a really quick, good mock-up of UI without having to go and like pull up Illustrator or Photoshop and make your own. So for the price of it, it's just so easy to say, I can make something that has decent fonts, decent colors. Now, that being said, you can just go and grab your own Google Open Fonts. You can just go and grab a free icon set. But like, how much of that extra plumbing is it worth it when what you're trying to do is say, I want to make a screenshot of a cool UI with a couple of buttons to demonstrate something, drop this into a project, grab a few pieces, and away you go,
Yeah, I'm guessing you use this a lot more on the more enterprisey type apps too. Yeah, you got to do a lot of UI stuff, and you want to make it actually look good and professional.
there's often a lot of cases where somebody asks us to make something, but they don't want to pay to hire a separate artist or whatever. And so the trade-off is I could say, we'll just use this. Like it won't be enterprise quality. It'll be good enough. It looks really nice. It'll work. And then if they want to go and like custom brand it and do their own stuff, they can hire somebody after the fact. But it really quickly gets you something that is commercially viable and professional without having to like go to all the effort of doing it yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have quite a few of these different types of art packs. Whenever they go on sale, I tend to grab them. Unfortunately, this
the
one's
problem
not
I have
on
though
sale,
is
but when it goes on sale,
a lot of them fall into these categories of like the really specific looks like a RPG game or looks like a medieval whatever. The thing I like about this is just shapes. This is just your standard material style design, clean lines and colors. Works for every project, great for tool style development. It's not very specifically interesting for a game, but if you just need buttons and tools, it's really good.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things I've done in the past too, working with clients that needed UI stuff, is actually go through the asset store and get a couple screenshots of different packs and show them like, hey, would you like your UI to look more like option 1, 2, or 3? Like, which one of these do you like? Then you can give them a little bit of flexibility, and I can just grab the pack if it's not one I already have, or a lot of time it'd just be a pack that I already had, and just it gives them, because I feel like a lot of time people just struggle when you tell them like you need to know what they want the UI to look like. They're like, I don't know, and they'll just pick the last thing they saw. Right, so give them a couple options. It tends to help a lot. There was a question about an asset that just popped up. I figured I'd share that before we jumped on to another one. I don't know if you guys know of anything that does this. So it projects the surface of a sphere. I can't talk. Go ahead.
A sphere.
I don't.
To a flat surface. Yeah, me neither. I can see use cases for sure, making maps and projections of that sort. But
I don't know of any personally. So I figured I would just pop it up and ask. And if anybody in chat happens to know, or anybody watching later happens to know, drop a comment and let us know if you guys know one. All right, cool. So just jump on to another one. Do a couple more.
Yeah. So like I said, often, but one that I really love is just because it's visually really nice is Rainbow Hierarchy. It's just gorgeous. Like it looks really, really nice. Again, don't use it as much as I'd like to, but it's very like it makes your editor much nicer. So Hierarchy 2 especially. The folders I don't care about as much, but Rainbow Hierarchy is such a nice addition.
What does this do?
So it lets you take the hierarchy and add, so it can either add icons or add different backgrounds, but what you can do is you can color code the backgrounds for certain elements, and it's really good to visually delineate, like, these are environmental portions, these are actors, these are static elements, and at a glance, it gives you this really nice look at what the kind of divisions, because here's something that you'll see a lot at larger projects. People will use the hierarchy as a folder structure, and they'll have like a single game object. It's just a bunch of fucking asterisks that just represents a dividing line to say this stuff is A, this stuff is B, this stuff is C. And that's fine, but it gets a bit cumbersome and hard to deal with. This lets you just visually draw that out in a nice integrated way into the editor itself.
That's pretty cool. Can you do it per like component type so that it'll color anything that has a specific component?
I'm not sure if you can do it automatically, but you can do it per element. I'm not sure what the automation is for it. I've just used it to just draw, to like select a few objects and mark them as different colors.
Interesting. Yeah, I always I like doing custom icons and things for special objects, but we do custom colors on there. It could be good. One thing, I don't know the situation with this one specifically, but I have seen some of the hierarchy modifying assets in the past that just totally fall apart at scale. They work great normally in a regular size project, and then you pull them into a large project where the hierarchy is bigger and the project's big, and the thing just like won't even open or crashes or just runs extremely slow.
To tell the truth, that's why I stopped using Editor Console Pro. Now, it's a great editor. It looks gorgeous, but it does this, like, whenever the project rebuilds, it rebuilds itself so that it can give you the extra details on the logs, which looks really cool to be able to, like, it'll show you the actual script and the point where it happens, but it slows things down. The whole process, like, makes the whole build cycle it's just not worth it for what amounts to a nicer editor for the console. So I just tend to write my own console stuff if I need it.
Cool. Yeah, and I don't know that that's an issue with this one or anyone specifically. Just I have seen that in the past where I've had to rip them out, or I've tried them in projects and had to rip them out because it was just slowed things down too much.
And another one which drove me
assume it's
insane
generally-
too. I don't want to call it out because it is a good asset, but again, just bothered me. There's one called Q Hierarchy I've used in the past, and it looks great. It has a lot of features. It lets you use icons and shows you the components and things. But when we try to remove it from the project, the way it works is it keeps an invisible game object with hide flags in the scene and a bunch of other stuff like that. And so if you just try to delete the folder where it's from, you'll get a bunch of errors, you'll have a hard time finding the objects, and suddenly it breaks everything. So assets which sort of like secretly integrate themselves into your editor that you try to remove later can often like full on break a project. So just be very careful with those kinds of integrations.
Good point. Good thing to note. There was a question about if there are any top-down 2D procedural tile map assets that were good. I don't know if you guys know of any.
There was a cool
top-down.
isometric one. I never used it, but there's a cool isometric looking tile map thing a while back.
Do you remember the name of that one?
I don't, to be honest.
Well, let's just jump on to the next thing to share since it's not one that you've used anyways. I probably can't recommend it.
We're running out. We've gone through my entire list of
There's a Weathermaker that someone mentioned that they like Weathermaker, and I mentioned it earlier. It's also on sale. 2 words for Weathermaker. It's one of the ones again that I've used. It's drag and drop like all of them. Unistorm's another one, but that's not on sale right now. But Weathermaker's on sale, so you're gonna have to take your pick between Enviro and Weathermaker today, I guess.
This is interesting. Okay, so what does this one do?
Like the rest, it's clouds, it's weather, it's day and night. This is the thing that gets me. They all do the exact same thing, but they do it differently to slightly different aesthetics. And I'm sure the integrations are different, and the coding is different, and the way you work with it is different.
Let's do this with here, let's get Jason back in here. See one of the ones with the environment in it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my guess is they're just gonna look very different and interact differently in your games.
Yeah.
But this looks.
Yeah, the weather stuff is cool. The only problem I have with some of those is a lot of the fog and cloud stuff isn't volumetric. And so the trade-off is you have to be very careful to make sure that what you're looking for is or isn't. If it is volumetric, it's going to be a lot bigger on performance because it's going to be literally generating a mesh or a volume. But the thing is you can fly through those. If you're not using a mesh or a volume, it's just going to be like a generated texture of some kind with a really nice sort of noise pattern generated on it. It'll look 3D-ish from distance, but you can't use it for anything that's in the sky. So just be very careful when you're looking at cloud or sky assets that you're picking one that matches your project.
This one looks cool though. All right, what else you got, Andrew?
Toony Colors Pro.
Toony?
Oh,
Toony,
I have that.
like,
Yeah, that one's a good one. That's a good asset.
This is one that my video guy Jim made a really great video on this, but it's one of those things where you take any asset and you can make it a different art style. So all this 3D art that you have already that you're thinking, I'm making a Toon game, I can't use this. Well, yeah, you can. Turns out, you just throw this on and make anything look different.
So you take this guy right here and you just get back these 2 different versions.
Yep. Yeah, they've got a screenshot with the robot Kyle. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this really shows it, right? You go to, here's your game. Hey, look, we're making Borderlands.
Yeah.
So how do you use this thing? Do you remember the process for it?
I haven't used it. My video guy did, and it's I think it's just literally a few button clicks type of thing. It's a shader, so you throw it on, and then you just change the different effects you want. And it just magically works, you know?
Okay, so you click it on here. Looks like you add a component and then you pick the options you want. And I assume just hit a button and it's going to generate a shader that does it for your character.
Something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. A depth-based color foam. Oh, yeah, look at that. Cool. Wow. This is yeah, I think I'm gonna have to add this one. Just because I have a lot of that too, where like so one of the things I end up with is like I'll get a lot of art, but the art doesn't always match, right? Like it doesn't necessarily look good together. So this seems like I can just and it's I've seen a million of this dude. So he's the same guy that makes the cartoon effects. JMO assets. I've had that folder in my projects a million times. Awesome. Yeah. So I'll definitely grab this one because I can grab a bunch of different stuff, make it look similar and close enough. I mean, close enough for a programmer, that I'll be happy with it. So this
that review, that 5-star review, Home Mech, that's Jim, the guy who does my videos.
Oh, awesome!
So there you go.
The video
that's the video. That's the video he made.
Right there.
Full circle.
Cool.
Full circle.
Somebody was asking what the differences were, or if it was better than RealToon. I'm guessing that's something that he would cover in there.
I've not heard of RealToon. I don't think he does.
Let's check out RealToon.
I don't think, RealToon. Let's see. It's all one word. It's also on sale.
Oh, that's okay. Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen this one either. Oh, that's neat. In the light.
Oh, and this is the same people who do Magica Cloth, which is I think. Oh no, it's not. It's just a similar look. Take that back.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure how these compare. I don't know.
I wouldn't no idea either. But they both seem really cool. Right? Yeah.
This one looks like. I mean, it definitely has some different looks. I wonder if you just get different outcome or if they both do similar things or what. I don't know. Definitely very cool though.
Yeah, I think anything that can, breathe new life into old stuff you already have is like a game changer, right? Because we all have stuff.
Consistency is king as well, right? Like there's nothing worse than buying a lot of asset packs and going, I'd love to use this, but they all look so different, and then be able to just slap the same face on all of them so they look like they're part of the same project. It's so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is definitely worth $30 or $13. Yeah. It seems like it. Just because you could just take a bunch of free art too and start reusing it too.
And another good one that's on sale that I just noticed here is Easy Mobile Pro.
Easy Mobile Pro. Let's check that out.
So if you're doing a mobile project that's like multi-platform and you don't want to be dealing with all the mess of like opening the gallery on the device or engaging with the local OS stuff or sending toast alerts or all the other sort of obvious but also like tedious per Android, per iOS solutions, these guys just do it all for you. So you hook it up, you connect to the APIs, and it just like all of those like annoying per platform stuff is just pre-dealt with for you.
Oh wow, it's gotten way cheaper than the last. I remember when I first started doing mobile stuff, it was like $70 per plugin, and you got like one thing. You got like Toast on iOS, and then another $70 if you wanted Toast on Android. Wow. So this does it. Both of the major ones, and then like all of the features. It looks like so game services, IAPs, ads, notifications. Is this relatively easy to integrate too?
Yeah, they have their own little. They've got a good customized tooling thing. It's you basically like check the things you want. It gives you a little inscription, tells you what URLs to go to get IDs, drop them in. All good.
Wow. And that was always one of the harder parts too, like knowing where to go to get the thing. When they have the little link that you can just click that takes you right there. It's like, here's your code. It's in the top right corner. Like, that is cool. Check that out sometime, or definitely recommend it at the very least to people doing a bunch of mobile stuff. Privacy. Oh, so you can write your own privacy notice.
Yeah. One that's not on sale, but I do recommend is just generally getting a pool system. And I know the Pathologic one is good, and there's another one as well. Who are the two? There's two really good pooling systems I've used. Pathologic was one of them, and then somebody else had one.
How do you spell that?
Path-O-Logic.
Not finding it. Maybe the minuses don't work.
Pathological. So pathological, apparently.
What's the name of the asset?
Here, let me send you a link.
Okay, I just link over to. Yeah. The search thing in here has never been
It's not
amazing.
great, is it? Yeah.
No, it doesn't do like predictive stuff or find things that are close. If you misspell by a word, like you're not finding it.
And as someone who's written systems that do that, here's the reason why, by the way, FYI for people. They are probably just searching a database. They're just taking the string and doing a DB search. What you need to do with a scaled asset like this is you need to have a search server. You need to be using something like Elasticsearch or some of the like Oracle Soul Search stuff. And what that does is it makes a separate database of model data, and you can then search by like creators and tags and all this other stuff. It's a lot more
get, like variants and different like the misspellings and all that stuff, right? Like
exactly. Then you start doing like
I don't even pretend to know how to set that stuff up anymore, but long time ago. Sure, it has changed dramatically since the last time I had to build something like that. But this one, so this is the pool manager.
Yeah, I've not used the other two, but they've got this like a triple pack thing, but you can get them separately. I've used the pool manager, and the pool manager is nice, straightforward, and does the job.
Okay. And how does it? So say you were going to use the pool manager, how do you use their system, or is it going to show me?
It's been a while to tell the truth. I've written my own for quite some time, but I remember I have used this, and it was good. You're just gonna have to take
it looks like you're gonna create a pool object. It's gonna set up the objects and you grab out of there. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, if you're not building your own pooling systems, I would definitely use one. If you're especially if you're struggling to build one, or you just want a good pre-built one, I would say use something. Don't not pool things. Well,
I remember this has like a bunch of options.
What's that?
I remember in the editor you could like press a button, it would create the prefabs for you. You could then change sliders for pre-warms and whatever. So if you're not familiar with plumbing your own, it's such a quick way to get like a pretty robust one up and running.
Yeah, and it's a good habit to get into, of just pooling things, and save you a lot. Cool. Anything else? Any other assets you got?
Horse Animset Pro.
What was that?
That was good. Yeah.
Horse Animset Pro.
Horse
Anim. Yeah, if just a search for Horse A, you'll probably find it. There you go.
Okay. Interesting. Not what I was expecting. I was like, why do we have horse animations? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Animate your horse.
What's cool about it is the riding system that it's got the built-in code to allow riding of the horse, which is a step above just throwing your character on. And then there's tons of animations.
Over and looking wild.
Yeah, right. Because that's for my own assets. I never was able to crack riding. I know my dragon comes with a saddle, but we never were able to crack that to make it work. But with this, it does work. And then of course horses work as well. And it comes with so many animations, and the tooling itself, and it works for any character. I think any like a rideable character.
Oh, cool. So just like grab a humanoid and you can set it up for this?
That's the idea, yeah.
But does it come with the horses that we saw here and the character?
It does. It does. It comes with the character, comes with the horses. I think there's a cart that it comes with as well.
It looks like a flying horse too.
Horse and buggy, yeah. So that's a new update they have for Pegasus.
Oh, okay. Let's check out the second video too. Oh, new features. This looks pretty cool.
Yeah. It's one of those like I'm just gonna make this quick little game, and I need someone to ride a horse, and then you're like, wait, how do I do that?
It's like floating in water. It's like, I just kicked this box into the water. It'd be cool if it floated. It's like now you're about to start an adventure, a very long adventure into soft body physics and water and stuff.
Yeah, there you go. That cart, yeah.
Oh, neat.
A few people mentioned AI stuff, and so I thought I'd give a quick thing on that.
Sure.
I've used a few different ones. Back in my day, there was a lot of different ones. A lot of them have changed or moved than the assets I used to use. The one if you're just starting out and you want a really quick AI thing for your game, there's one called Breadcrumb AI. It's free, just a nice little small asset that's great for setting up some very basic enemy AI. If you want something a bit more dramatic, sort of larger scale, people have talked about it. It's called. Actually, we'll just a quick look at this one first. So this one has a really simple thing. It has enemies that have health. You can have flying enemies. You can have ground enemies, basic following AI and whatever. It's not using anything as fancy as like proper A-star or whatever, but it's just basically like pathing, straightforward, raycast based line of sight stuff. And it's more than good enough. You can set up an nav mesh, I think, too, and work with that. So it's just pretty straightforward. But it works.
Give you like a simple AI NPC setup that you can use, right, to build a game.
Yep. And then if you want a more robust one, there's A-Star Pathfinding Project Pro. That's your sort of your larger, proper nav mesh with dynamic nav mesh generation and all the other fun toys.
Mm-hmm.
This one right
here. So
this one's been around for a long time.
It actually wasn't called this before, I don't think. I think it was just A-Star Pathfinding before.
It was just A-Star Pathfinding for the first many years.
Yeah. This one's great. Has a lot of like the reason you'd want something like this over some of the other options is because it lets you do things like dynamically change the nav meshes. So you have a big problem with the native Unity nav meshes where it's very difficult to like have multiple nav meshes interchange, and you can do things like cutouts with the existing one, but I'll be honest, it's not very good for dynamically shifting terrain. This one supports a lot of really nice dynamic stuff that you don't normally get. The multi-threading does help, of course.
Yeah, in my experience, this one's always been like slightly ahead technically. Like it was able to do a little bit more and a little bit harder to use.
It was like definitely harder to use. Yeah.
Case for it. Like it's always been like you could do. There were a couple things that you couldn't do in the other one that you could do in this one, but it was not quite as straightforward to use. And it seems like they're always like kind of slowly catching up. So definitely cool. I've used
that, and it was difficult to use, but powerful. So absolutely, I would agree with you there.
And then for node things, we won't bother like bringing them all up, but I'll just mention them. There's a ton of node graphic asset stuff. Playmaker, everyone's heard of. Playmaker is great as a visual scripting tool, but you can use it as a programmer alongside it. In fact, a lot of games do use it. Things like even Hearthstone uses it as their underlying thing. You can use it for little like state machines that are great for visual debugging, and it's a powerful tool. But you have to lean into it. If you're using Playmaker, you are using Playmaker for your project. So everyone on the team will have to know how to use it. So that's something to be aware of. I don't like how much it becomes the main de facto way to work, so I don't use it very often. But I've seen people who do and swear by it. Other options are Behavior Designer. Behavior Designer is great. It's one I've used on a couple of projects. Their AI pack is really nice. It works really well with their own built-in set of basic AI pathing. It's not my favorite, but it's good. Like there's literally nothing wrong with it. I preferred Node Canvas. Node Canvas I liked the UI better. It worked better for the kind of stuff I was doing, and it was a lot less feature-filled, which sounds like a bad thing. But the reason I liked Node Canvas was because it was so simple that you would build your own nodes for it. So the problem I have with both Bolt and Playmaker is it sort of implies you create the logic in the graph. You start doing like vector additions and stuff in the graph. And I find that kind of defeats the benefits of a graphing system, because you start like building this really confusing set of stuff that could be 2 or 3 lines of code. But something like Node Canvas, it's a lot more designed around, it gives you the flow state stuff, but you just build your own nodes. You extend the node system, build your own, and then you make a nice clean visual graph that helps you debug things, but you're not using it to write your code. So that's why it's my favorite. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm saying personally, I prefer using this for the way it solves that problem. And then Bolt. Bolt is the new one with Unity, which is great too. The difference with Bolt and the others is Bolt scans your code base and generates nodes based on the compiled code. So Bolt automates the process for you. You don't have to write your own nodes. It turns all of your scripts into nodes, which is both really cool, but also really slow. So just like you said earlier,
in an assembly definition now, and assigned in the project settings now.
Oh, that must be new. Okay, because before it was just every time your project would rebuild, it would go through this whole build cycle, and it was exhaustingly slow. So I haven't
now
used it
there's
since
a
I've
button
integrated
that
it.
you have to hit after you add them.
Okay,
I've been playing with
that's
it
probably
quite
a lot better than
You got to go add the assembly definition and then hit the button to generate it. Which because having that automated thing, it's so terrible. It's like
that's why I couldn't use it. Yeah.
Like because you don't forget to do it, but then it slows shit down. But interesting. I haven't tried Node Canvas. So I'm kind of curious to check it out. But
yeah, it was my favorite. Yeah.
I did a stream on visual scripting yesterday with Bolt. That's fun stuff. Go ahead, Andrew.
Real Ivy 2 would be a pick for me.
Real Ivy 2.
Yep. I've only played with it a little bit, but it's one of those that just kind of does what it does and does it well. And it has the flexibility to do a lot more and just instant, like take any environment that you've got and make it just that much better.
Oh, neat. So you just let's skip ahead.
Yeah, just click buttons and yeah, it should show. Oh, you might be on a tutorial video.
Okay, here you can see the ivy starting to come out. Hit start growth and it starts popping out. Let's rewind that.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've got like auto things where it'll grow itself using the colliders, I think it is, or it can you can grow your mouse click around and make it grow.
Yeah, they just drop a seed there and then it just kind of grows from the seed. That's neat. Growing around there. That is a cool one. Let's add that part. Seems like
it kind of reminds me of the entire Obi suite. Have you used all of those? Obi ropes and the fluid stuff. All of their stuff is great. It's just like it's so case OBI. There we go. So all of their stuff is so specific. Like they're very much like they solve one problem, but the problems they solve are great. Like the rope one I've used tons of times for VR stuff where you need like cables and ropes and all sorts of stuff. It's really good.
Oh, yeah, look at this. Gonna work as a pulley.
Yeah.
Neat. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. That's like...
Getting good ropes in Unity is really damn difficult. Stuff will stretch and do weird stuff with your hinge joints and whatever, but this one works quite nicely.
Yeah, I love that they even the demos you can see that the texture they're using that's not stretching and
yeah,
that's cool.
Those are the type of things, again, going back to like just the subtle things that if you add that subtle realism to your game, people might not even notice it, but for some reason they'll just be like, wow, that game just looks so great, and they won't even know why necessarily, but it's because the rope looks natural because the whatever it is looks right. It just looks right.
Yeah. You just have things flying around and bouncing around. Yeah, that's cool. I agree though. Yeah, all those little what the hell? Sorry. That was unexpected.
if you have a look at the rest of their stuff, there's also Obi cloth, Obi fluid, Obi soft body, and they're all equally as just good polished assets.
I wonder, do they have a bundle with everything all together yet? No.
Unfortunately not. Hint, hint, guys, which they should. Because
just check out the fluid.
Well, I never picked up the soft bodies one. I might grab that when I'm here.
Yeah, that's more of that. Just looks great.
That is cool. Let's check out soft bodies real quick. All right, cool. So I think we're gonna wrap up relatively soon, but I wanted to see if anybody in chat had any other really cool assets or wanted to share their own assets that are on sale real quick. We can take a peek at and talk about. Oh, this is neat. While we're looking at this soft body one. Interesting. That's cool. Yeah, unless you guys had anything else too that you really wanted to talk about. So let's see, Node Canvas or Behavior Designer. Well, I think Jason recommended Node Canvas.
Yeah, so it depends what you're doing. Like if you just want the AI state machine stuff done for you, go Behavior Designer. If you want a state management solution for your own game that you can write your own stuff for, go Node Canvas. So depends what you're looking for.
All right, is Debugging Essentials an asset?
Yeah.
That one I've seen. Okay.
I haven't seen this one.
I haven't either.
This is the Nathaniel Dorsum publishes these games as well. So you know this is made by somebody who makes games. And
Okay,
eats,
so
eats, dog food's their own stuff for sure.
I'll put that bug in the health bar. Let's inspect with the health bar value, okay? Yeah, go click it. I'm a little unsure on what we're doing here. I assume it's going to show some useful info, though.
Oh yeah, around 50 seconds in, that's when it shows you the...
Okay. What if you could inspect everything in the Okay, so that's why it was going slow, because it's saying, hey. Oh, wait, what did he show there? I'm confused. I am lost. I don't know what this is, but I want to check it out.
So basically, instead of jumping to the code to inspect values and then do a watch variable, the idea is that you've got a window that pops up that shows you the live variables that you can click and inspect down the tree of where the watch valuables are on the variables.
So is that just the Oh, okay. So the watch variables of the private methods that are inside there. So these are like the local variables.
You could click an object in the scene and it'll show you the hierarchy live in the game running overlaid, and you can then drill down, see the values, and then tweak and debug them.
Interesting. Well, I'll add it.
It looks cool, but it's one of those ones that's like, I get very worried about assets which look like they're going to vastly change the way I work. I know that shouldn't be the case, but I just sort of I'm curious. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, but, I'm just curious how it works and what they're doing. If there's anything useful I can take out of that, it seems kind of cool.
I pick up assets for learning all of the time. Like literally, if there's an asset about sort of oh god, there's so many, specifically physics stuff or anything to do with AI, I tend to just buy them to look at how they work. There was a great one about flocking simulators I bought just so I could learn how they did it.
Top-down engine. I haven't used this either. Somebody was actually asking about a top-down 2D game, and it looks like this one does that too.
Well, everyone just recommends Corgi. Oh, this is Corgi. Okay.
Same developer, yeah, but just for top-down stuff. It's one of those that, like, if you're trying to make a top-down game and you don't want to do all the work, to make a top-down game, just get this and jumpstart right into it. The Corgi engine is the same way, right? Where it just kind of works.
They just get a game from the start and then start building on top of that.
Yeah.
If you're not super opinionated on your code, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Let's see. Did you guys cover Peak? I've never heard of Peak. Have you guys looked at Peak?
It's from the Bolt folks, Ludic.
Peak is one I bought and I really like and I want to use, but again, it's just an asset I can't justify including in too many projects. Either because I'm tutoring people and I don't want them to like have to rely on the tools and shortcuts I use. So I think I said this before. This isn't a slide on any one of the individual assets. It's just if you're either training or selling what you're doing, you have to make it easy for people to follow along. And this is why I tend to even avoid Rider sometimes in the past. And it took me so long to get on board with Rider because I don't want to force other people to go, what tools are you using? How do I get those? And then have to go and buy a load of stuff. And Peak looks like one of those things that I would probably use it all the time, but it would completely change how I work. And I'd get bad shortcuts, well, good shortcuts, but it would be like bad to teach. So I avoid it because I know it would change how I work.
That makes sense. I'm with you there too. I had the same problems, but Rider was the one that I also just like, yeah, you're gonna have to accept it and start using Rider. it's worth it. Interesting.
But I'd say this looks like a really, really good tool. It's just I can't bring myself to use it, unfortunately.
Yeah, seems cool. All right. Yeah, there's so many assets. People are just popping up in here.
Too many. Yeah.
Atavism. I don't remember using that anymore. Puppet 3D or Puppet Face. Have you used those?
Puppet 3D I've not used, but I know people who have. It's basically just a nice rigging thing for 2D games and stuff, isn't it? Is that the one?
3D. They've got a 2D version and 3D.
Oh yeah, but I've used the 2D. Yeah. I've not used the 3D.
I like that. There's a couple others too that do the similar things where you can just kind of edit animations and stuff. That's what it does a lot more than that, but I like the idea that, hey, this animation that I got is slightly not what I need. I want it slightly different, so you can edit those animations to just make it a little bit more bespoke for your project.
Oh, okay. So you could use this to go in and edit your actual rig. Say you're not an animator and you open up like Maya and Blender and just lose your mind. I
Yeah,
assume you can use this to go in and fix the rig if there are issues, move bones around and fix the weighting and stuff.
I think you can do that too. Yeah.
Another company that just make generally good assets is Ludig. The Peak guys there, they have so Chronos was one that I recommended from them. So yeah, Peak and then Chronos. So the Chronos is one that was their first big asset. It's effectively this. So this I think is a almost stellar example of how to make, market, and create your asset, because they marketed this on Reddit. They launched with this really nice video that clearly demonstrates the kinds of stuff it's doing. It came out with a really good set of documentation on their own website. It was very well supported, and like as someone who I bought this the minute it came out. It was one of the few assets I actually bought the day it launched, rather than waiting until it was on sale. And now it's free, which is even ridiculous. Like I bought this for like $70 or whatever way back.
Oh yeah, I know almost everybody I know has bought this at some time. Wait till it gets into the cooler stuff, right? So far, people have only seen it slowing down and
and if you don't get what it's actually doing, it's effectively, it lets you set timers and clocks. So you effectively have like clocks that are for different things, and then different entities are subscribed to different clocks, and then you can rewind and control time relative to a different clock. So effectively, if you have a game with time control where you want to rewind particles or rewind physics or rewind other stuff. Yeah, I didn't know it was free. So apparently it is free, which is why it's like a must-get asset. It used to be like $70.
Yeah.
So here's like a bubble of time.
You guys should definitely grab this thing and play with it. It's a lot of fun. It's super cool.
It's just well structured as well. Like I really appreciated how conceptually as an asset, everything is a unique entity. Like there is something called a stopwatch, there is something called a clock, and each one is a concept you can understand, use, and implement. It's very straightforward. It has some issues with physics where it's not always repeatable. If you start scrubbing back and forth with some of the physics or with the particle stuff, it can get out of sync. So just be careful with some of that. It's not flawless, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, it is powerful stuff, dude. That's pretty cool. I'm just amazed that it's free now. So it's an easy easy buy.
Free, yeah. Yeah.
Chronos time control. Oh yeah, 2015. Cool. Well, I don't know. Are there any other ones you guys want to cover? If not, we could probably start wrapping up and then just get recommendations from everybody. Oh, somebody's asking about UModeller. I want to talk about that one real quick. Let's bring that up because I think you guys have used that, right? And I think I've seen it a couple times. Sorry, what was that?
I really wanted to like that. Like I bought it and I was really excited because the trailer looks great and it looks really powerful, and the documentation was just non-existent. And not only was the documentation non-existent, the editor tools at the time, they look a bit better now, but at the time it was just buttons. There was no icons, no indications of what they did. They were all using like modeling language, talking about your NURBS and your whatever. And if you weren't a modeler like me, you're like, I know the basics of n-gons and polygons, but like I don't understand what all of these terms mean regarding the face structure that I'm changing and the topology changes I'm making. And so it kind of presumes you already know what you're doing. And if you do already know what you're doing, you're probably using a 3D modeling tool, which is why I still preferred Pro, because Pro Builder was just like, it's designed to plumb out the basic terrain. Well, this is designed to live, and if that's the case, like again, it was for a different audience. So I couldn't gel with it when I first started.
They've had 10 updates in 2021. So I haven't used it myself, but it seems like it's insanely supported and constantly being updated. I know right now. I keep seeing their ads on YouTube, so they must be doing an advertising push. So if they're putting advertisement behind it, that tells me that even though I haven't used it, it's probably top notch. And I mean, the videos look really cool too.
Last time I used it was like when it was in beta and it had just come out. I think it might have been actually it was probably right after it launched. I think I bought it too right after it launched. I remember trying it out before that, and it's It seemed cool, but I have the same problem as you that like I can't do anything that looks pretty anyway, no matter how good the tools are. So it didn't. I didn't see like much of a difference for that between that and Pro Builder for me. But again, that's just because of my lack of any artistic ability to make anything beyond like cube rooms and stairs and stuff.
Yep.
It definitely seems interesting. That people are building cool shit, but people build all kinds of cool stuff. I wish I could make art. Makes me jealous all the time.
The most recent comment is about L2 localization, and you're right, we didn't mention that. But the thing is, the reason I didn't mention that is while it's a really powerful tool, like the problem I have with it is localization is relatively easy to make. Like it comes down to if your project is small enough that you've only got a couple of things that you need to localize, you can just create a scriptable object and do it yourself. If your project is big enough that you need to localize a load of things, maybe, but at the end of the day, you can also just write your own. And I've just found, I used to use it, and it was pretty good when I was using it, but there's a great video by Game Dev Guide, for example, on YouTube, where he just goes through how to make a very quick localization system that will scale quite nicely for everything you need for free off their own, after a couple of videos. So I've just not found a case where I've used L2 as much anymore.
Yeah, same. I've always just done my own when it comes to that stuff. Didn't find much of a benefit. I mean, I'm sure there are reasons to use other ones. It's just been, I've either had cases where it was tiny, where like I got to localize like 15 strings, like who cares, super simple, or where it was just massive, and none of those systems were going to work because we needed to go through like external processes and send stuff off to other companies that are translating all of the things, and like dropping that into an object in Unity wasn't going to work either. So it's an interesting one.
Oh, Curved World. Curved World is great. That's a really fun one. So
that one
people
is
who don't
cool.
know, what's cool about Curved World is that it doesn't affect your geometry. Like it's literally just effects that you can apply afterwards, which makes it so much easier to do a lot of really funky stuff with.
Yeah, you just build a normal world and then you add that on and it looks curved even though it's not. Like you're in the scene view and it's all flat, but then you look there. Yeah, that's a cool one to try out for sure.
There's also Curved UI. That's great for VR stuff, just as a side note. It basically is the standard Curved UI. It's the standard canvas stuff in Unity, except you can have like hoods that are curved, and it's great for those kinds of cool world space UI stuff. So
yeah, or they wrap. I've used that before for pop-ups. So like the in-game HUDs in VR, they're great. Yeah, because it'll wrap around you and you can kind of look and see it instead of it being a big flat canvas out in front of you. Really neat. All right, yeah, I guess we'll start wrapping it up now. I know Andrew's got stuff to do and we got lots of stuff going on. But I want to do some more of these. There's definitely a lot of assets, and it seems like everybody's got a lot of recommendations. So if everybody that's watching and in chat can just drop a comment afterwards with like what other assets you think we should take a look at, maybe either later on this week or next week, do another stream and just go through and cover a bunch of other assets that people think are interesting or kind of curious about and give some feedback on them. I think it'd be fun and pretty useful. Like I've learned a ton, and I've got a giant cart full of stuff that can't let my wife see now. gotta go grab a bunch more assets and try them all out and have fun and stuff. Also, after this, I've got a video that's about to release. I said it, I think, for shortly after. I'm gonna just drop it in chat, and then I'm gonna premiere it whenever we wrap this up. So whenever you're done, or I guess whenever you have a second, right now if you're watching, just click over to that video too, hit thumbs up and get ready, and I'll hit premiere on that once we finish talking in here. I don't know, I just kind of wanted to give you guys another minute or two to talk about whatever, though. If there's any other stuff you guys want to bring up, mention.
Just assets are amazing.
Right? Let's get us all in weird positions now so that I come down on the ground and
get
cool.
Yeah, just I would say, as always, because we've talked last week, we had this, and I've on my Discord, people come up with this. Don't be afraid to use assets. They're there to get your prototype done, because your prototype is not your finished game, and your job right now, in most cases, for a lot of people reading this or watching this, is to get your game finished and get that to the point where it's fun, where people are like, I want to see more of this. and then you can start replacing the art with custom stuff. Then you can start like adding new bells and whistles that aren't there on the asset store today.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Don't wait to build your game until you have the art, because then you're just never going to build the game. Start building it and then replacing it.
Like I say this so many times, don't make judgments about what tools or technologies you should use based on what games you use. You are not a huge multi-person studio. You don't have your own dedicated art department. Like, be practical. If you want to make a game, I say this before, like, if you want to make a salad, you don't start building a farm. If you want to make a game, you don't start building a million tools. You just do the thing you want to make and accept the fact that you have to get other external assets solved for what you need. And like, you may think of it's expensive now, but I promise you, when you get to scale of the games that you were thinking about, games like Hollow Knight or AAA titles of any kind, like, individual characters cost hundreds, because you end up paying for a single level has concept art, then concept art goes into leveling and modeling, then modeling goes into texturing, and like then you have like environmental art. There's so much work and money that just building out an environment can cost thousands. And so when you look at an asset store and say, oh, this costs 200, that's way too expensive for my game, it's like, compared to how much it will cost you to get that done, made bespoke for your game, is insane. So if you're not an artist and you don't know how to do it, like, you can keep bothering people on various Reddits and saying, can I have free models, please? And hope that people will work for you for free. Or you can accept the fact that a small investment in your project and just use the tools available to get something made is 10 times more valuable than all of this, like, well, that's not what the pros use. That this isn't, I should use Unreal because that's what all the big end. Well, you're not making the next huge game. You're making your game. So just use the tools that you can use.
Yeah. A lot of those pros build their own engines too. They don't use Unreal either. I thought they use their own engine and create it from scratch. Like, there's definitely like that whole level of where you call it good and start using other people's things. And I think it's where you said at the point of make your damn game, like, make the thing that makes your stuff unique. Like, don't try to build things that already exist.
And I keep going to Hollow Knight as an example simply because it is a popular game that was made in Unity, but also you can decompile the code and see they're using assets. A game that popular is using an off-the-shelf asset for, I think they actually are using L2, and I think they're using Easy Save, and they're using like 5 or 6 assets, because you might be thinking, oh yeah, well, I'm an indie, so I'm going to use these like cheaper poor man assets on the store. But a real dev would build their own. Oh no, they wouldn't. A real dev is smart, and they're going to build a game, and they're not going to waste their time spending 3 months building a giant save system when they can just use an asset that is proven and works. That's not saying every asset's worth using, because some of them, they don't have support and you have issues.
Uh-oh. Some of them have bad internet access.
Yeah. But yeah, that's everything he's saying. Absolutely true. The reality is that if it saves you time and saves you money, the big studios are going to do it, and the small studios, and you should do it too.
And I think on the point of like the cost of assets, I always find it interesting when people think that they are expensive, because I mean, I get like they can be expensive to your income, but like relative to the cost of an actual asset, I always look at things and I see that they're about maybe a tenth of what they would cost to get them done, sometimes down to like 100th of the cost. Like,
oh yeah,
if I see an asset on there that costs $10, I assume that would cost at least 100 to get made, maybe up to 1,000, right? And then the same like scaling across, because I've had characters made plenty of times. I've had concept art made, and concept art can cost thousands of dollars just for a single good image that takes a while. Like, pro artists and big studios charge a lot. They get paid. I mean, they charge a ton. There's a reason that their budgets are in the hundreds of millions of dollars a lot of the time, or at least in the tens of millions just to start.
I'll tell you what, the environment that I just released, the medieval town environment that Infinity PBR just put out, cost at least $15,000 so far to make, and that's just the modeling and one person helping me with the level design. But almost all of that was just the modeling, and that doesn't include my own time of texturing everything and putting it into Unity and putting it together and all that. So that's just the raw. I paid other people for that project so far.
Right. That's kind of the benefit of the asset store, is like, because of the scale of it and because so many people will grab it eventually, like people can buy these things for not paying $15,000. It used to be the case that like you just didn't have the option, right? You had to like try to go take something out of a game, or
Yeah. Plus, it took a year to get that made. I mean, so it's you can make your own, or and spend a year and $15,000, or just buy it for $60 today and use it today.
Totally agree. I wanted to share this last comment that popped up.
That's cool.
Total price of all the assets mentioned today, $1884.12. Don't worry, honey, I'm not going to spend that much.
Here's the thing, though. Here's my hot take. Now, you look at that number and go, "That's insane." But let me ask you: ask how many hours each dev spent on each one of those assets. Pay yourself minimum wage, and ask yourself if you think you could have made all of the stuff we mentioned for under $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you'd be at that's one of those where like with those code ones, I think you're looking at like 100x. Right, the cost to build a lot of those code ones is easily 100 times what you're paying, maybe even more than that. And to get some of the art ones too, it seems like a lot of the art ones.
I think it's such a common misconception for people. They look at the asset store and they say, "Oh, that costs 200. How much does that cost me? That cost me 200. That's a lot of money." And then they say, "I'll just make it myself." But then nobody ever stops and says, if you make it yourself and you spend 3 hours a day for 5 days for 2 months, how much would that have cost you if someone was paying you to make it? And you'd be like, "Oh, well, at a minimum, for the amount of work I put in, I'd want to get paid 500 or 700 or whatever." You're like, okay. So to make the thing that you think 200 is too much to buy, you would want 700 to make. I mean, if you people forget to think about their own time as like an actual expense. And you're thinking, well, I could just work on this or this. Well, anytime you're not building the asset, you're working on your game. So like, be practical about where your time should go. You have a minimum amount of time. So spend your time working on what your game is. And if you have the money to pay for an asset that'll save you weeks or months of work, like, it's worth it. And you'll have that asset forever.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about your medieval environment, so I wanted to pop it up. This is the one that you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Medieval town environment.
Medieval town. And I'm making use of assets. The trees are from the forest pack from Naturemanufacture, which you spoke about earlier. And that the river is RAM, because I'm not going to recreate stuff and spend another $10,000 just to make something that already exists on the asset store that a lot of people already have and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this type of stuff that costs a lot of money to produce, and it takes a lot of time to produce, and a lot of texturing time in Substance Painter and integration Unity and setting up the prefab, setting up the LODs. Or you can just buy it, drag and drop it into your project, and get going. Make your project today. Just get done with your game. Get to the fun.
Run around.
Yeah.
And another thing too is, like, one of the comments just said, and you have limited money a lot of the time too. I agree, you do. But I have to be completely honest with you. If you're trying to make a game, to sell a game, you have to put in money to make money. Like, the truth is, it's an investment. You are investing in yourself. If you're doing it as a hobby, fine, don't bother spending money. You can use Kenny, you can use tons of cool free assets, you can use all these different free things. But if you honestly think you're making a game with the intent of selling it, like, if you're not willing to spend a few hundred to save yourself hundreds of hours of labor and work, like, I don't know what to tell you. That's the fundamentals of this stage. You have to be practical about spending the money on valuable things, and your own time should be considered a cost.
I agree. All right. I'm going to take this last question. I'm going to cut us because I keep going on and on, and I know you guys got to go. Are there any animation sets you guys would recommend? I always recommend people go look at Mixamo and grab some of the free humanoid packs, but is there like a really good animation set?
Yeah, for the RPG character mechanism animations from Explosive is one that's just for RPG stuff. It's got over 1,000 animations.
This one right here?
The one on the left that's on sale is 64 for free is great too, but 1,200 for $50 is they're all humanoid animations. So, just another one of those things that you just have it in your library, because when you need it, and it's just there.
Yep. That looks like a good one. I use their free pack all the time. I use those in YouTube videos, so I'll grab this one too. character mechanism animation pack. I might
And
already
keep
have
in mind
one
too,
actually.
like we've talked about like a wide berth of assets from 2D games to 3D games to whatever. If you're talking about the assets you need for your game of type X, it's probably 150. We've probably said maybe 200 worth of like you need an animation set, some basic models to start, some particle system. Like you don't need to spend the aforementioned $2,000. I'm just
Yeah.
like that's like every asset we think is possibly get valuable that we've liked, but like a couple hundred will get you more than enough to get started on a really robust game with tons of features.
Yeah, I would
Plus,
get
you're not
them
gonna
as you need them.
Yeah, you're not going to need them all in one game, right? You're not going to need every single asset in one game. It's going to bloat your project. Your project won't run anymore necessarily. So,
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'll start wrapping up now, and we'll just say thanks to everybody for coming out. Again, if you have assets that you want us to talk about, just drop a comment after the stream ends. So whenever it's live, or if you're watching this after it ended live, just drop a comment down. I'll check them out, and then we'll talk about them a bit, and then we'll talk about them in the next stream, I guess, or the next time we talk about assets. Hopefully, we'll do another stream just going over more assets that are on sale, because I got a big list of stuff that I want to try out and check out. And then also make sure that you have already subscribed and hit the thumbs up button, and come over to the video that I'm going to release here. I'll drop it in chat one more time. They're doing another one of those live premieres with a video on I guess it was about how much. Oh, what happened to the description? It all disappeared. Oh no. Well, I had a description in there, but it's essentially about how much my first game dev job. Oh, here. Oh no, it all disappeared. That's a shame. I lost all the info, but it's a video about game dev jobs, what they pay, and a lot of some interesting stuff there about how my game dev job paid doubled in like a week or a couple weeks. Anyway, if you're interested in that stuff, or you got a minute, just hop over there, hit the button, and I'll see you there. And now I'm just going to try to sit here and debug and figure out why my video lost all of its details, and I got to go fix that. So thanks again, everybody, for coming out here and watching. And I guess you guys got anything else you want to say?
thanks everyone.
Yeah, no, just as usual. I don't have any updates for what I'm doing, but you can go to ko-fi.com/JasonStory. That's any updates I have will be going there when I get around to it.
KO what?
ko-fi.com/JasonStory. So that's coffee. I'll send you the link.
I'm gonna pull it up and paste it into chat too, so everybody's got the link.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the only thing. That's where I keep updates on whatever it is I'm doing.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, it was good talking to everybody and good seeing you all. And I will see you all in the live stream or the premiere as soon as I fix it in just a few minutes. All right. Thanks again, everybody.
See ya.
Good luck.